Hi there, this is Dave Scott, and I would like to invite you to listen Monday through Friday right here on Spaced Out Radio. 3 hours a night of the top stories with the top guests, ranging topics from UFOs to ETs, ghosts to Sasquatch, and everything in between. We are live every night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. So come on in and take a listen at spacedoutradio.com. Spaced Out Radio will take you out of this world.
Scout 6316, 8.8 for 6,000.
Yeah, 6316, North Approach, going to maintain 3,000, number 1 for the right.
3,000, Scout 6316.
Redwood 811, going to maintain 4,000. Airport open the clock, 1.
Take you higher and higher and higher. You feel it over and over again. Take you higher and higher and higher. You feel it over and over again.
6 Nova, careful, runway heading, runway 5. Let's take off.
Check.
And we are ready for takeoff. Sit back, relax. It's time to travel with Cosmic Passport. Spaced Out Weekend presents Elizabeth Anglin's Cosmic Passport, a 1-hour warm-up of news, stories, thoughts, and ideas to captivate your mind. You can follow us at spacedoutradio.com.
Now 20 years have passed us by, and we look back and count the time. Burning like the summer sun, when the world was young. As I lay staring from the ground, and 7 trumpets wait to sound.
And now, here's Our Lady of Flight, Cosmic Passport with Elizabeth Anglin.
From this place.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Spaced Out Radio Weekend. You're on with the host before the host. This is Elizabeth Anglin here, calling in from the wild Ortiz Mountains in Madrid, New Mexico. Yes, it's spelled like Madrid, but no, it's not, in Spain. We are here in our little art colony gloriousness, just getting ready for fall. It's windy, it's crazy, the weather is wild, and I'm on tonight before your host, James Tyson, who has a great show for you with Karrie Schuler, I don't know how to say her name, talking about Schuler, talking about her paranormal family experiences, which are amazing and interesting, and you're going to love them. But before we get into that, just some news. You are on Spaced Out Radio, and we are coming to you oftentimes from Vancouver in British Columbia, but in my case, from the United States. Oh my gosh. Yes, the United States. I'm not even Canadian. Sometimes I regret that fact. I was born quite close to Canada, about an hour away, but still not Canadian. Anyway, I'm here to talk to you about Spaced Out Radio, and if you're listening, you can get in our chat rooms on Spreaker at spacedoutradio.com and join in on the chat. We also have the Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers chat room, which is our special chat room for special people, especially those who support our show by making a $5 a month pledge or donation or purchase to become a member, however you want to put it. And with that, they also get extra special goodies at the end of the month, and a newsletter, which is coming up. I'm editing it as we speak. Well, not as we speak, but right now, this evening and tomorrow, and more good stuff, not just archives. there's more. So check out Spaced Out Radio, Space Travelers, and you can find a button for that on the homepage of spacedoutradio.com. Click on it, become a Spaced Out Radio Space Traveler. It's the best chat room. We are here live 7 days a week. 5 days a week, it's Dave Scott. On the weekend, it's myself and James Tyson, bringing you all the best in paranormal, ufological, intuitive, psychic, cryptozoological, and other good stuff on Spaced Out Radio. If you're listening on Revolution Radio, congratulations. They have great sound, I understand, but also they are listener supported. So if you are a Revolution Radio fan, please go to their website and consider giving them, or just go ahead and get out, your checkbook, your money card, your debit card, the thing that the government watches you with, because they can always tell where you are when you use it. Give them some of your hard-earned cash, because they do this out of the goodness of their heart and out of the goodness of the listeners' support that allows them to keep going. So you can also listen to us on Revolution Radio on freedomslips.com. You can check out their chat room on Studio B. Tonight, we have paranormal news. Yes, paranormal news. It doesn't ever stop. It doesn't go quickly. In the paranormal, we don't have, luckily, mad Bigfoot going out and breaking up McDonald's. Although that would kind of be fun, like if Bigfoot went into McDonald's and decided that he was just going to throw chairs around because he didn't like the sort of prepackaged food and the unconnection to the earth that McDonald's represents. Oh, I'm sorry, McDonald's. I didn't mean just you. Fast food restaurants represent. We don't have Bigfoot going in and causing the sort of news that we see in America, just going on a rampage. Bigfoot stays pretty quiet most of the time, and most of us Bigfoot experiencers really don't find many Bigfoot that want to hurt too many people, and that's good. And so we have a lot of other paranormal news to get through that doesn't include Bigfoot violence. We also have other paranormal news to get through that doesn't include alien violence, and we like that too. So the first thing we're going to talk about tonight is from NPR, National Public Radio. It's kind of like Revolution Radio, but without the paranormal, except for tonight we do have in Cosmos and Culture an article on our aliens talking to us. Because did you know, in the past month, on August 15th, the news broke that a Russian radio telescope detected strong signals from outer space. Now, this is a Russian radio telescope. It's probably been around for a while. The signals allegedly originated from a star 95 light years from Earth. And to clarify, that means the signal would have left the star or potentially an orbiting planet 95 years ago. 95 years ago, yep. My grandmother was around. Probably some of your grandmothers were around. Radio waves, as do any electromagnetic wave, including visible light, travel in empty space at the speed of light, about 186,000 miles per second. You blink your eyes and light goes 7.5 times around the Earth. The signal was detected last year, but only made public last month, when scientists from the Ratan 600 radio antenna and Zelenchukskaya were cautious, but still believed the source deserved permanent monitoring. The signal seemed to be isotropic, that is, beamed with the same power in all directions, and for this to happen, and assuming that it came from an intelligent source, the responsible civilization would have to be a Kardashev Type 2, a kind of civilization with a technology way more advanced than our own. We are still a Kardashev Type 1. And, of course, there's always debate about the scale. Where are we? We don't know. We don't know other developed civilizations. We could be like kindergarten Kardashev Type -000. Anyway, Kardashev Type 1 civilizations are capable of harnessing the energy that reaches us from the sun. So yes, we have solar energy. A Type 2 is capable of harnessing the energy of the entire star. for example, by encompassing the whole star with a device that can efficiently absorb a large fraction of its enormous radiation, or just really, really, really super good solar energy. Yeah, that's right. It would be amazing indeed if such an advanced civilization existed not too far away from us. The Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence Initiative, or SETI, has scanned the skies for more than 50 years in search of signals. And Carl Sagan wrote an inspiring novel, Contact, about such a search, which became the movie that we all know with Jodie Foster and Matthew McConaughey. And the question always present as we ponder the existence of other intelligent beings in the cosmos is whether or not such beings are benevolent or malevolent, etc., yada, yada, yada. Some of us are beyond that. Anyway, what ended up happening with this source is it has now been debunked, the source of this radio signal, which seemed to be isotropic. The Russian signal turned out to be a dud. A few days ago, the Russian news agency TASS announced the signal came from an old Russian military satellite. Many scientists had predicted this would be the case. The planet known to orbit the star is Neptune-sized, orbiting it way too close for life as we know it. But maybe there could be a smaller planet we haven't seen yet. The signal was not very impressive, Eric Corpola from UC Berkeley downplayed it from the beginning, stating that the case for it originating from an intelligent civilization was quite weak. I just wonder if it seemed isotropic and not moving and coming from the same spot, how it could be a satellite. As far as I know, do satellites just sit in one spot? I thought they orbited and went around. It didn't just... There's got to be some things going on here, which I guess you would have to, understand that I don't understand about how an isotropic signal, I don't understand it. Now, not knowing the answer for such an essential question as to why we don't hear from aliens with radio waves is disturbing. Well, maybe they've grown beyond them and they don't need them anymore. And, we're listening with technology that's 50 years old, it could be. So anyway, that's what went on. We had a signal. We thought we had a signal from aliens through SETI, through Russia. And of course, it was debunked. I don't know. Now I want to go to a more happy story. No, not a happy story, but a story that involves somebody that I know, a guy that I think is kind of a cool dude, Chuck Zukowski. He's an alien and Bigfoot researcher in Colorado, and I met him when I was in Colorado and having some Bigfoot experiences up there, and he's kind of a cool guy. Well, he's got an upcoming book called The 37th Parallel, The Secret Truth Behind America's UFO Highway. And it deals dramatically with UFO sightings and cattle mutilations. And you can get it on Amazon. And people are talking about it. Chuck is a really good researcher. He won't go out and say that he's found something when he hasn't, but he will go and tell people what happened when he was out. And he did write up, we went out looking for some Bigfoot, and we didn't actually get any Bigfoot. We got a lot of sounds, we got some knocking, and we got some creepies, and we got some flashes of light. And he wrote it up on his blog, and it was exactly as it happened. So I appreciate him. There's an article about him in the New York Post. It's called The Man Who Chases Aliens on America's Paranormal Highway. And this is from September 4th. And here's what the article says. The rancher called Chuck Zukowski in a panic. I think it's happening again, the farmer named Miller said nervously on August 8, 2011. I'll be right there, Zukowski reassured him. The 58-year-old alien investigator threw on his tactical vest, jumped into his black Ford truck, and sped over to Miller's farm 2 hours away in Trinidad, Colorado. The spooked cattleman greeted Zukowski with a solemn stare and pointed toward the carcass of a cow plopped in the dirt. The mutilated Red Angus was missing its ears, tongue, and genitals, similar to the previous 2 incidents at Miller's ranch. Each body part was dissected in a clinical way, leaving cauterized surgical wounds, but the earth surrounding the cow was completely undisturbed. Zukowski had no doubt that this was the work of aliens, and they were once again operating on the 37th parallel. I started to realize the cattle mutilations, UFO sightings, and major events like Area 51 are all lined up, Zukowski said, referring to the 37th degree of latitude, which forms the borders between Utah and Arizona, Colorado and New Mexico, and Kansas and Oklahoma. The True Believer had investigated more than 1,000 paranormal incidents over 30 years, and 200 of them landed on the 37th parallel. It's America's paranormal highway, the self-described UFO nut proclaimed. Zukowski believes the aliens have a predilection for places with a proximity to underground water and a high level of hydrogen, which they use for energy. He became fascinated with ETs as a kid, but began to get serious about his research in the late 1980s. On the weekends, he'd pile his 3 kids and his wife, Tammy, into a beat-up RV and go UFO hunting. Like Ghostbusters, Zukowski is always ready for action. In 1995, Zukowski took this photo of a streak in the sky over Area 51 in Nevada, and he claims it is probably a UFO. I never go anywhere without a tactical vest, a gun, a full-spectrum camera, a handheld metal detector, binoculars, a rangefinder, and glass tubes for samples, boasted Zukowski. And I can tell you this is true. He came with all that stuff to my house, and we went out into the wilderness with all that stuff. He also works as a microchip designer. When he moved his family to Colorado Springs in 1998, he latched on to the phenomena of mutilated animals. They all look as if someone has cut them up with a surgical knife, he says. Zukowski sharpened his investigative skills while working for the El Paso County, Colorado Sheriff's Department, earning the nickname Mulder of El Paso, after the X-Files character Fox Mulder. But 8 years later, he was booted from the squad for his paranormal leanings. They thought it hurt the integrity of the department and were embarrassed. Not so for writer Ben Mesrick, whose book The Accidental Billionaires was adapted into the movie The Social Network. When Mesrick caught wind of Zukowski's quest to find the truth, he flew to Colorado to meet the subject of his forthcoming book, The 37th Parallel, The Secret Truth Behind America's UFO Highway, out Friday. The movie rights have been snapped up by New Line Cinema. Yay, Chuck, go! Good for you. He swept me from the airport, gave me a bulletproof vest and a gun, and said, "Let's go investigate UFOs," Mesrick said of his first encounter with Zukowski. I was blown away by his obsession. And his gear. He has nice gear. Lots of people ridicule UFO researchers, but Mesrick was infatuated with Zukowski's commitment to finding aliens. For the following 6 months, Mesrick dove headfirst into Zukowski's theory. Over the course of my research, I've determined it's incredibly likely that we have been visited by aliens at least once, Mesrick said. So they have a timeline. This is kind of a fun New York Post article. You can check it out at nypost.com/2016-09-04. I'm happy for my buddy Chuck because, he's a good guy. He drove 7 hours to come and see if we could get any Bigfoot information, with heat cameras and things like that. And we spent the night out in the woods, and it was fun. And he's also a gentle person. So I'm happy that he's got a book coming out and that people are talking about him. I think it's well deserved. He seems to be a good guy. Okay. Well, we had a talk this week with David Oman about Charles Manson, and Charles Manson is also in the paranormal news elsewhere, on the Anomalist, for example. In Beachcombing's Bizarre History blog, he comes up in reference to the bottomless pit in the Californian desert. Dr. Beachcombing reminiscence about the 1960s when Charles Manson built a sect that pledged to follow him to the bottomless pit in Death Valley. This pit, which Manson himself could not locate, was purported to be filled with the last specimens of all enlightened but dying races and would provide the protection required for the impending race war that would destroy the world. Dr. Beachcombing points out that it was a testimony to Manson's charisma and leadership that he was able to convince his followers of something so inherently ridiculous. Maybe they also thought Charlie could explain how can solid objects appear out of thin air. Have any of you guys ever seen that? I've seen it in New Hampshire, and I've seen it a couple of times in the mountains of Colorado, but I've seen things pop in with a flash and then fall. It's the most bizarre thing. And no, I don't see it all the time. And, you know, when I have seen it, it's been few and far between. But I was just in the north of Mount Monadnock in New Hampshire the first time I saw what was a rock pop in to a space about 200 feet above, well, maybe 100 feet above the ground and fall and hit the ground. It was the bizarrest thing. So let's read about how can solid objects appear out of thin air. This is from Malcolm's Musings at malcolmsanomalies.blogspot.com.au/2016-09 with the same name. How can solid objects appear out of thin air? How can they, Malcolm? How can they? Malcolm writes, in 1998, Tony Healy and my friend Paul Cropper descended on the small Northern Territory town of Humpty-Doo to investigate a poltergeist-infested house. They didn't have long to wait. While Paul was talking to two of the occupants, there came a clatter like hail on the corrugated iron roof, and as he looked upwards, a dozen gray pebbles fell to the floor from the ceiling. You know, that's odd because that's the thing I saw. It was a rock. It fell out of the sky. There was a big flash and boom, rock. I don't know. I'm going to take a drink now, so hang on, everybody. As it turned out, this was not an isolated experience for them. Trickery, they soon discovered, was out of the question. However, it was pretty easy to deduce that the pebbles came from the driveway outside. But how did they get to the ceiling? No one ever saw them move from the driveway into the house or onto the roof or even hover below the ceiling. Paul Cropper got the impression that they had simply passed through both the roof and ceiling without leaving any holes. It is not clear from their reports whether the clatter was heard on each occasion. So did they simply materialize under the ceiling? And why, when the ground was saturated outside, did they remain dry, if not warm? And this phenomena is not limited to Humpty-Doo. Yeah, I saw it in New Hampshire, at least one big rock. Harry Price, the psychic researcher, said that he had heard of many objects falling from ceilings, but never anyone ever seeing anything go up to the ceiling. Most of you, I suppose, already know what poltergeists are supposed to be and what they do. They are either mischievous spirits or RSPK, recurrent spontaneous psychokinesis. Somebody's subconscious having a psychic tantrum and exhibiting powers the conscious mind could never display. Poltergeists are the things that go bump in the night and in the daytime make a whole lot of other noises as well. They throw things around and smash them, although throw is perhaps not the correct word, for the objects frequently move slowly, fall heavily or lightly, or change course as if being held by an invisible hand. Though they very rarely harm people, they may slap them, pinch them, or pull their hair. They also start fires. With advances in technology, they have now learned to turn on electrical appliances even when they are disconnected and run up huge telephone bills from disconnected phones. But the most mysterious of all poltergeist phenomena are apports. Apports are objects which appear and disappear. Sometimes it happens just when the onlooker's eyes are averted. On rare occasions, they can actually be seen to materialize or dematerialize in front of the witness's eyes, sometimes on request. At other times, they are seen to move into the room, but without any indication as to how they did so. for they were known to have been in some locked container. Sometimes objects appear which simply did not exist in the building in question, and they have come from elsewhere. Now, aports are part and parcel of physical mediumship. I do mental mediumship. I don't do physical mediumship because it's actually very hard. But a lot of physical mediums will do aports. But, what he's talking about is if you've ever seen just something materialize and fall, which I have a few times, I think it's like 3 total. I've never been to a physical mediumship a circle or sitting. I don't know that many physical mediums. It's actually can be quite hard on the medium's body to do this kind of work. So a lot of physical mediums will wait until they're older, and when they have an idea that, okay, do I need to live another 30 years? Maybe another 20 will do, so I'll go ahead and be a physical medium. And they'll do things like where they aport or have apports or aports come through. So they can have them appear and disappear, and sometimes it happens just when the onlooker's eyes are averted, as I said. Such phenomena are worldwide in distribution, whether or not you have a physical medium. In 1967, a 19-year-old girl called Anna Marie of Rosenheim, I'm back to the article, guys, in Rosenheim, Germany, became the focus of poltergeist activity at her employment at a bowling alley and in her own home, where one night her bed and that of her parents were bombarded for hours on end with stones, coal, pieces of litter, and tools. Came the morning, her mother replaced all the tools in their box, sat on it, and announced, "Now you will stay there." It must have been like waving a flag at a bull, because one by one, the tools were scattered all around the room while she was still sitting on the toolbox. And if that makes your mind boggle, consider what happened at Furnace Mill in Lamberhurst, Kent, as described in the Daily Mail on the 28th of May, 1906. No one could approach the mill unseen, and 2 guard dogs stood watch. Despite this, some remarkably heavy items were disturbed, and one morning the horses were all found reversed in their stalls, i.e. their heads were where their tails should have been and vice versa. So they didn't have box stalls. They were in single, standing stalls. Not only that, but one of the horses was missing, and they searched high and low for it. To be precise, they searched low, and finally, out of desperation, went up to the hayloft through the door so narrow that even a man had difficulty entering, since a partition had to be removed to get the horse out. One must logically deduce that somehow it had been moved through solid timber in the first place. If you've ever been in a hayloft, the idea of a horse getting into a hayloft, just to tell you from personal experience, it's ridiculous no matter what. I mean, unless there's stairs of hay that the horse can climb up, a horse is not going in a hayloft. Anyway, so it had been deduced it was moved through solid timber, and what sort of power could do that, and just contemplate what it would be like if science were to learn to master it. Well, geez, I'd be over in Vancouver, I think, over with James, hanging out and bugging him and asking him questions and saying, hey, James, what about this? What about that? So, which I'm going to do in a couple minutes. In point of fact, I have every reason to believe that advanced civilizations have learned to master apportation. And this is from Malcolm's musings. He thinks that we're going to learn how to do it. So, hey, James, what do you think about that?
I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think so too. If somebody told you they had mastered it, would you sign up to, get into transporter or the aporter theme?
I'd wait till the first 400 or 500 people would successfully come and went, and the movie The Fly, the original, kind of sticks in my mind, where help me, who knows, he'd come back in pieces, or maybe a piece of a fly was in there, and you don't make it all together in one piece. I don't know. I'm definitely going to have to wait until it becomes more mainstream. Possibly, like, the teleporter 3. I'll wait for that to come on. The teleporter 1, nah. Let's see.
Yeah.
We're gonna work the bugs out of it first.
Mm-hmm. Like the Pentium 1 or the, all those other original computer chips.
Even the iPhone.
So, even the iPhone.
Yeah. We got it all perfect. Oh, except this one little thing. And sorry about the way your face turned out. Oh, you needed that spleen? Yeah, we can't get the spleen to go with you right now. Yeah, it'd be interesting.
Yeah.
You would see.
I
know you. You would jump on, like as soon as the guy showed up in town in the little covered wagon, going, "Hey, step right up," and there'd be Elizabeth.
I so totally wouldn't, because the whole reason that I even looked into my alien abduction experiences wasn't because I was afraid of aliens. It was because I was afraid they would have a problem with their tech and I'd get stuck in a wall. I mean, the little guys didn't scare me. The big guys didn't scare me. The mantises didn't scare me. It was the tech. It was somebody's going to use this tech inappropriately and they're going to end up putting me back dead. And so, no, I distrust technology. I am a total Luddite. Like, even when I go camping, you know how people have all this, like, camping gear, sort of like Chuck Zukowski goes out with all his gear. I like to go camping with the most minimal stuff, the stuff that has been used forever, rope, a pan, fire, thing to make fire with, water, thing to stay dry, because I think that there's very little chance that it will break down. So I have this whole mental aversion to things that are too complicated.
Oh, okay then.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of that complicated stuff, definitely stay away from it. It's better not to deal with some of it, and but you'd be fun to go camping with.
Well, and here we are. I say this, but here we are. We're online. We're on Spreaker. We're on Skype. We're using the computer. We're all connected up through some really, really complicated pieces of technology. And I'm complaining about the fact that it's all too complicated and it might break down. It's like, just so much, I don't know. But, all right. Do you want to hear another story?
Sure.
Okay, this is from Esoterics, and this is about us. Now, I like esoterics.com because the person is really sardonic. It's a blog, and I like sardonic people. I like cynical people. I don't like cynical drunk people or cynical high people, but I like sardonic and cynical people. So, Esoterics, ESOTERX.com, 2016, 831. Everyone's a little bit crazy. Schizotypy and strange phenomena. Uh-oh. They're talking about us. So, here's how it begins. But I don't want to go among mad people, Alice remarked. Oh, but you can't help that, said the cat. We're all mad here. I'm mad. You're mad. Well, how do you know I'm mad, said Alice. You must be, said the cat, or you wouldn't have come here. Yeah, welcome to spacedoutradio.com. If you're here, the cat's saying you must be mad. So here's what they're saying about mad people and weird beliefs or weird experiences, because we're experiencers, not believers. Here's the article. According to a 2015 World Health Organization mental health survey analyzing information from over 30,000 people in 18 countries, about 1 in 20 people in the general population has experienced at least one hallucination in their lifetime that wasn't connected to drugs, alcohol, or dreaming. The original article is posted at JAMA Psychiatry, July 15th, 2015. Next time you're at the coffee shop, look around. At least one of your fellow caffeine addicts has heard voices or seen things that didn't exist. According to whom? That's what I want to know. Or experienced a presumed delusion, a false belief, such as the thought that their mind was being controlled or that they were being followed. If you want to have some fun, pick one at random and whisper in their ear, "Can you see me?" Repeat this enough times and eventually you're identified the precise individual and in some instances get a date. This is less a reflection of the possibility that there are a lot of free-range crazy people, rather more indicative that there is some superficial credence in the psychological theory of schizotypy, which states in layman's terms that everyone is a little bit crazy, and the issue in question is where you fall along the continuum. So, James, where do you think we fall?
Oh, we fall. Oh. We fall. I said something like that. I was just actually typing it into, I'm now going to erase it because they can hear me say it, to the mounted police psychologist. I was in this really small town for a long time and I was burning out. And I said, everyone in this town's crazy except me. At which point he wrote it down on a piece of paper and said, "Now read that back to me." And I looked at him and said, "Oh, geez, I'm nuts, aren't I?" He said, "No, you're not. If you were crazy, you wouldn't have got it. You wouldn't realize what you just said." I went, oh, well, that's good then. So, yeah, that was a little bit awkward. But I like walking up to people and saying, "You can see me, can't you?" And just keep walking.
Well, that's like tonight on the phone. "Can you hear me?" "Yes." "Can you hear me?" "Yes." "Can you hear me?" Click.
Can you hear me? Obviously, I couldn't hear you saying yes.
Yes.
Your Honor, I heard her say yes. I didn't hear her say no.
Yes. Yes.
What exactly is this whole connection with... I'm not going to say crazy people, but with we seem to gravitate towards people of like mind. We also seem to gravitate towards people who not only of like mind, but like experienced. Is that kind of limiting our exposure to new things as a group, as our little bunch of cave-dwelling teams? Are we only going to go out as far as in experience as far as we know?
Well, I think what it is that human beings are social. We're social animals, and it is sort of the 100th monkey idea that the first monkey to wash the potato or the apple is the first monkey to do that, and then the other monkeys will one by one pick it up and go there, and then there'll be a new thing and a new thing and a new thing. But there's more to this article. Let me read it, and it might answer some of your question. So the article says schizotypy is a particularly germane to the exploration of strange phenomena, as the skeptical default is to assume that anyone who has had what is generously termed an apparitional experience, be it an elusive hairy hominid or an unidentified flying object, or a good old-fashioned haunting, is either ignorant, mistaken, or insane, temporarily or chronically. I have met very few skeptics who aren't entirely confident that the vast majority of human beings are babbling, easily manipulable clods. So, basically what the author is saying, if you want to explore the unknown, in one time or another, somebody's going to say, well, that's schizotypic behavior, or you have schizotypy, or you're schizoaffective. And it's because we don't have another term for open-minded that fits, whereas the skeptics are all saying, yes, every human being but myself is mistaken, ignorant, insane, or completely manipulatable. So we've got like these two far ends of the spectrum. The hardcore skeptics who think they know better, and the rest of us who are like, oh crap, well that wasn't supposed to happen, what the hell was that, right? So I think I would rather hang out with the people saying, oh crap, that wasn't supposed to happen, what the hell was that, right? Wouldn't you, James?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
pretty much, because the other people, it's like, could you get that stick out of your butt? I mean, because
I work for those people.
Did that get lodged in there at birth, or did you just accept that as part of your beingness? I don't understand. They're not, for the most part. Have you ever hung around skeptics? Like, gone to coffee with one?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, did you hear about what they banned in North Korea?
No, what'd they ban?
Sarcasm. It is unlawful.
Oh my gosh, I'd be in jail like yesterday or 10 years ago.
You walk up to the premier of North Korea and say, "Hey, nice haircut."
You better mean it.
You better mean it. But how do you prove you don't? Strange.
Yeah, I mean, it could be like them. He's being sarcastic. No, I really do like your haircut. And who's going to be the person who says, "Well, that's terrible"?
Spear Carrier just in the chat room said, "Yeah, specifically sarcasm against their fearless leader."
Fearless leader.
Yeah.
What was that?
Obviously, the fearless leader is afraid of sarcasm.
Very good, fearless leader.
Yes.
He's good.
Well.
Yeah. That's
okay. So you're going to be talking to one of us crazy people tonight, right, Karrie?
No, she's not crazy. The crazy ass. No. Sorry, the crazy butt who showed up. And I'm not going to tell you what his name is. But his initials are, never mind. I better not do that either. And he was on this TV series. Okay, his initials are Ralph Sarchi or something like that. He is alleged to be a retired New York detective, city police detective of almost 18 years. And he wrote a book he alleges based on a lot of the work that he did, like on the job and doing, I don't know what he did. He connected it to somehow to.
Can I just say two initials? Does he work with AA?
I don't know who that is, but okay. Ralph Sarchi had a TV series that, thank God, didn't go any further past 3 episodes of. It's called The Demon Files. And showed up at Carrie's place. Now, I knew Karrie and her family before this, and she explained how the hauntings all took place and kind of where they started and what was going on in the house. So this guy shows up, obviously with a local television crew and maybe some local paranormal investigators, and barking and dropping the F-bomb and yelling and screaming at him and running around the house, just as paranoid, carrying a gun too, which I guess is always fun on a paranormal investigation. But that's your country. Your retired policemen are allowed to carry guns. So, and I could see that, you may get a real angry ghost, but he gets in there and just basically belittles them and basically calls her a witch, and they've only called these guys in trying to, become on a TV show and all this other stuff. And he actually assaults her son, grabs him by the chin, pulls him over to him, and starts, chest bumping the kid, some 21-year-old kid. And it's like, really? And stirs up all the crap. Says he went upstairs and exorcised somebody out of the attic, and off they went. Well, turned the house upside down spiritually, and they had to deal with the residue, and basically left the family dumbfounded. And when they edited it down on the episode, it made them look it made the Schuler family look like a bunch of crazy people, literally, and they're not. But that's what Ralph wants to be. He wanted to be a movie star, and off he went. Right. And that was the last episode, or I think maybe filmed one after that. But what an ass! What an absolute paranoid ass! He did. I was about to say he did write a book, which a movie was made on it, and that's kind of what he's hanging his coat on, but he just, all he wanted to do, he was forcing his religion on everybody. He comes in as the Catholic, there are no ghosts, everything's a demon. And you've invited him here. Her husband put 3 rocks out on the grill out back, because there were, like, the neighbor's cat was chasing something around the house. So he put 3 rocks there, and this guy went off on it. Oh, why are those 3 rocks there? Why are in that formation? Is this kind of a witchcraft thing? And you just wanted to slap the guy. Well, I did, but again, he's armed.
Yeah.
And so thank goodness he's gone. So if anyone wants to Google the Demon Files and watch listen to this show and then watch the episode, and you'll just shake your head. This guy's a piece of work. He's not like one of our good friends here, Steve Duchevy, who's on the Dead Files and with AA. But
okay.
Yeah, Steve's a stand-up guy. He's a really good guy, a very good investigator, does all the research, comes in and presents it.
He seems calm too. Yeah.
He's a lot more mellow.
He's a policeman, and he seemed calm, and wow.
Poor Karrie.
Dang.
So Karrie's going to come around and chat about that. As soon as I calm down, because so you got 18 years as a policeman in New York, in the Bronx. Good. That's great. You had backup 20 seconds away at all time through your entire career. I don't know. Now I'm just getting pissy. Uh-oh.
What?
Never mind. I have our resident Catholic on the chat room giving me a bad time. A bad time.
About Catholics?
Yeah.
Hey, you shouldn't just Catholics. Like, I'm not Catholic, but I get a lot of help when I'm working from Catholic saints and from Mother Mary, and of course I'm living in a very Catholic state, and I grew up.
Was Mary Catholic?
Well, everybody's prays the rosary, and if you're going to go pray to Mother Mary, she wasn't Catholic, but the Catholics have a really strong connection with Mother Mary, and I was raised Methodist / Quaker, and none of that was, you're not supposed to pray to saints or pray to Mary or any of that in the more Germanic, Lithuanian based non-Catholic religions.
Lithuania.
But I'll tell you what, Martin Luther, he came in, he got rid of all the... Yeah,
I know, but when you said Lithuanian, it sounded cool.
Yeah,
Planet Lithuania.
But in terms of spiritual work, the Catholics were not... I've had really good luck working with saints, even the Greek Orthodox saints, in terms of doing healings, and of course I'm not Catholic, but yet these things still have information, and they have presence that goes beyond. Schizotypically, we're all the crazy people are. We're all the crazy healers, shamans are. They have power in a good way.
My scary tattoo I have on my forearm is the Archangel Michael.
Yeah.
But it's not Saint Michael.
Right. It's Archangel Michael.
Yeah, it's Mike the Archangel. And we use him for clearing stuff out when we're working.
Yeah, I mean, that's not something you would learn in the Methodist Church.
No.
How to do.
Actually, I was talking to Catherine O'Keefe Cavanos, who has very interesting. Now, she's not Catholic, but her guides, they imagine the monk, imagine Friar Tuck on on the original. Oh, what do you call it? Robin Hood
mead
movie.
Drinking.
Yeah,
the original mead drinking drunken Friar Tuck.
The little short round guy with the robe and the white rope around it, and the hood. That's what her spirit guides are. And she's not Catholic. There's just these little hello. They never take their hoods off. But
well, and you don't have to be. I mean, I have a friend he was a monk, so a long time ago. And if you've ever, we have all these lifetimes where, sometimes you're Catholic, sometimes you're Buddhist, sometimes you're Jewish, sometimes you're something completely different, and sometimes you're not even human. You may not want to hear this, but I mean, that's what it appears to be after working with the Akashic Records for a long, long time. People show up and, all sorts of different situations and have experiences of life that don't just follow one thing.
Yeah,
we're learning something different.
I had a spirit guide come through during meditation. He was sitting at a table with a bunch of other guides. I don't know, playing poker or something. But he had a robe, but not like he had the big long fluffy sleeve openings, and he had a hat that looked like a pagoda. So I'm guessing he was some Asian fellow from a long time ago. Whether he was an Asian priest or an Asian... But it was very, very, 5th century Chinese.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was very cool. Yeah, so, of course, that's not my primary guide. My primary guide is a guy that looks like he just washed up from putting together the pyramids. It was about 30,000 years ago in Egypt, as it was described to me. Which coincidentally, was as far back as my DNA goes, was Egypt, north of the Valley of the Kings, about a third towards Cairo from the Valley of the Kings. That's where my DNA goes back. 30,000 years.
It was nice there then. It was nice and green and lush and beautiful. It was before all the desert started 30,000 years ago.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure from my relatives, lush would be it. Yeah. So,
all that corn whiskey.
That corn whiskey, damn it. What?
Yeah.
Actually, in the chat room on Spreaker, we're talking about mead and moonshine and somebody knows a beekeeper selling ice cream pails of bees for $30. No. I'm making myself laugh. What do you think about demons versus... You have 3 minutes. What do you think about demons versus just your regular run-of-the-mill lost soul?
Demons want to kill you. Demons want to break up your family. They want to make at least one person or more people in your family crazy. The reason why we shouldn't have guns in the United States is that if somebody becomes demonically possessed, somebody's going to be using that gun to shoot everybody else. They're about confusion and anger and frustration and rage and completely tearing everything good apart and causing as much pain and devastation as possible. Your run-of-the-mill ghost is just trying to get by like most human beings and isn't doing anything like that. And if you're not suffering from somebody in your family or yourself having lots of anger, frustration, and rage and violent thoughts and being confused and not being able to, put two thoughts together and string together a sentence, and there's a ghost, it's probably just a ghost. It's just a human soul that is earthbound that, has, for one reason or another, decided not to move on. And it may be because they're scared. It may be because of their own religious or philosophical beliefs. Or it may be that because they feel guilty about something that happened in their life. Or they might just be a spirit who did move on and came back. And they decided that, it's really beautiful in Western Colorado or Vancouver or BC or wherever the heck they are, and they're going to hang out there for a while. But demons are nasty. That's what I would say. I've met a few.
Demons are nasty. You've met a few?
I've met a few. I've been attacked by a few. I've been attacked through other people by a few. And I can tell you what, it is never nice. And the first time it happened, it was really bad.
Ugh.
So you'll know.
Well, Elizabeth, thank you very much. And
You're
rumor
welcome.
has it, you have to leave now. But
Okay,
I will be
goodbye.
chatting with you tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Okay, see you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
To play my introduction on Eternal.
Hi there, this is... Hi there, this is Dave Scott, and I would like to invite you to listen Monday through Friday right here on Spaced Out Radio. 3 hours a night of the top stories with the top guests, ranging topics from UFOs to ETs, ghosts to Sasquatch, and everything in between. We are live every night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. So come on in and take a listen at spacedoutradio.com. Spaced Out Radio will take you out of this world.
Hi there, this is your psychic medium Joanna, and I would love it if you would join us every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. With host James Tyson, we'll bring you personal psychic messages on 2 mediums and a large. Questions about love, life, career changes. We would love it if you would come and join us live. Call in and listen in for the experience. Allow us to open the doors to your other side. 2 mediums and a large, heard only on Spaced Out Weekend at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for news beyond the mainstream news? Head to spacedoutradio.com and check out the SOR Spacewire. This is Spaced Out Radio's Eric Markham, News Director for the SOR Spacewire. Daily, I will bring you intriguing stories and outlandish reports from what's going on around the world. UFO sightings, paranormal activity, conspiracies, alternative health, and so much more. And if you have news, email me at news@spacedoutradio.com.
Attention Spaced Out Radio listeners. For only $5 a month, you can join Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers. Your membership at spacedoutradio.com will give you access to private fan area on the website, get you a monthly newsletter, draws for monthly swag, and a whole lot more. Sign up today to become a part of the Spaced Out Radio experience.
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Greetings and salutations, space travelers, from the Chronicles of the Unknown team.
What is Chronicles of the Unknown? I keep hearing about this thing.
It's a new paranormal reality TV show based right here in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. Follow our team as we uncover claims of activity on the Caribou Gold Rush Trail. You can also follow us here every third Monday, where 2 members of our team will be available to answer your questions. We'll give you some equipment updates and some of our experiences on the road, right here on Spaced Out Radio.
For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
Patrolling the Pacific Northwest, we are always on the lookout for the strange and unassuming stories that real people are experiencing. Hi, I'm Vincent Zunza from Pacific North Weird. Me and Alexandra Sullivan have teamed to bring to you those odd stories that never seem to make it into the mainstream. Stories so weird that will leave you scratching your head wondering, is this real? It's as real as it gets with Pacific North Weird. You can watch our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com.
It's time to go live on Spaced Out Weekend.
13, please. Oh, hi, Kevin. Oh, is that the time? Kevin, my friend, don't you find that watch just a little bit loud? Well, I certainly hope our buddy Bumblefoot is playing when we get there. Oh, you stinky big bundle of hair. I said Bumblefoot, not Bigfoot. Oh, it's going to be a long night.
It's time to head to the 13th floor of the old log cabin for Spaced Out Weekend with James Tyson. You can tweet James at James Tyson SOR. You can find him on Instagram, Spaced Out Weekend, as well as on Facebook. On YouTube, our channel is Spaced Out Radio Show, and you can check out our website, spacedoutradio.com.
Little brother has taken control, shoveling dirt in every hole. Predators to condemn your soul, watching you and watching me. We're all connected but separated, misunderstood and so frustrated. A million armies of one have invaded, watching you and watching me. We live behind glass curtains and act like nothing's wrong. Soon you will belong. I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere. Watching me.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
And now, perched high in his captain's chair, way above the clouds, here's James Tyson.
Welcome, everybody, and thanks, Dave. It is Spaced Out Weekend, and believe it or not, I'm James Tyson. Just like Dave said, I am broadcasting from my little log cabin on the 13th floor of the Spaced Out Radio Network here in the paranormal portals of the lower left Canadian coast. My left. If you go... Okay, it's my left, not your... Okay, your left. It all depends how you're looking at your computer screen and or your iDevice or little androids. Now, we have this special friend of Spaced Out Weekend. We have Karrie Schuler. Now, Karrie, we talked to about a year ago, and she was having some issues. See, about 14 years ago, this loving family was gifted with a very special daughter. The little girl had died at birth, and the doctors worked frantically to start her little heart. After 9 minutes, her heart started, but by then the damage had been done. Since her arrival home, she has brought with her a wonderfully warming light, and she lights up the Schuler home. With this wonderful, pure energy comes a band of spirits ranging from happy children to little flickering lights. But we know for every smile there's a frown, and this family's sadness is the presence of a very, very nasty entity. Now, 4 paranormal groups have tried... Oh, check that. 5 paranormal groups have tried, and we'll talk about the 5th, to confront this spirit and have failed. It has separated the weekend warrior ghost hunters from the true paranormal investigators, and still no one can help. Since then, Karrie and the family has moved states quite a ways across country, and shortly after they moved in, if not the day they moved in, the activity started again. So yeah, they brought it with them. It's the Traveling Ghost Show. Now, is it time to bring in the big guns, or, see for yourself with Karrie? And what would you do? And with that, I'm going to drag Karrie in quickly before they drag her down a bizarre portal. Karrie, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. You're very soft-spoken. Which is funny because off air you're yelling and screaming at me. But
right?
Yeah. Karrie, let's go back to when this all started. Where were you living? What state? And what happened with the birth of your little one?
Well, it's actually all been in the state of Missouri. And my daughter was born, she's 15 now, so 15 years ago. Gosh, time's flying by. But she had no heartbeat for 9.5 minutes when she was born, so she was born dead. And it took them a long time to get her resuscitated. And due to that, she has some special needs and is disabled now. Since we brought her home, from the day we brought her home from the hospital, we have experienced a flurry of paranormal activity, all types of paranormal activity, from shadow people to doppelgangers to black shadows, mechanical manipulation. And what I mean by that is like TVs, computers, garage doors, vehicles, all kinds of stuff, like anything that's like electric. We have issues with every house that we've ever lived in, and this is our 8th house now in Missouri. We've had either air conditioning issues or water issues in every single one of them almost immediately after we move in. I would say that would be a coincidence if it happened a couple of times, but it's been 8 houses now. Almost to the T, something happens. So we've also had, I would say, demon-like activity. However, we've come to the conclusion it wasn't actually a demon, but a very mean human spirit. It actually happened to be a family member that has passed and was a bully in life and was bullying in our house.
Oh, when did you get that information?
Actually, the last house after the last paranormal team came in, I've actually had several psychics tell me, look, I know that this is not demonic activity. This is a human spirit. This is human spirit. And when the last paranormal team came in, I kept asking them, are you sure this is demonic? Because they kept saying, no, this is demonic. This is demonic. I'm like, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? Oh, yeah, it's demonic. But they wouldn't help get rid of it. And then I reached out to another friend of mine who is from the New York area. And she's like, look, this is a human spirit and get rid of it. And she has helped get rid of it in our home. We've had a couple of incidents since we've moved to the new home. But for the most part, the attacks have subsided at this time.
Oh, good. Tell us about the attacks at the old one and the incidents of, well, special electronic trickery.
Well, I'll give you an example, and this is about the air conditioning unit at our very first house in the Nixa area in Missouri. Our air conditioning just kept messing up, and actually it was a thermostat in our house. We have this thing with every house, our thermostat resets itself, or it's not not resetting itself. There's something playing with it. And I one day, the thermostat, It was an old Honeywell. It was a turn dial on the wall. My kids were little. They couldn't even reach it. They didn't even know what a thermostat was. But it kept resetting itself to 60 degrees in our house all the time. And I'm like, this is crazy. I'm yelling at the kids. I'm yelling at my husband. Why are you messing with the thermostat? Leave it alone, And everybody's like, we're not touching it. So I decided one night to duct tape. I put duct tape. I set it at 70 degrees, and I duct taped the front of the thermostat to make sure nobody could move it. And everybody was in bed. I was sitting up, and I was watching a movie, and a couple of hours goes by, and it got really cold in the house again. I'm like, what is going on? So I got up, and I looked at the thermostat, set at 60 degrees. Nobody touched it. Nobody was awake. Tape was still in place. I'm like, okay, this is weird. So I call Honeywell, and I'm like, what is going on? What would make my thermostat reset itself? And the guy was like, let me put you on hold for a minute. And he comes back later, and he goes, ma'am, I've been here at this company for 17 years, and because I described which thermostat it was, everything. And he said, I've never, ever heard this complaint. And he said, I got two suggestions for you. Either you replace the thermostat or you get a priest. And I'm like, oh, great, smarty pants. Okay, whatever. So I call, again, our air conditioning goes out and this thermostat's not working. So I call this guy out on a Saturday. This guy comes out to fix our air conditioning. And, the kids are running around, and I'm busy in the house, and he's doing his thing. He replaced the thermostat to a digital one, which doesn't help, by the way. And he shuts everything off in the air conditioning to go outside to take a look at it. And he's out, and he's gone for, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 minutes. And he comes back, and he goes, ma'am, can you come with me for a minute? And I'm like, all right. So he takes me out to the garage where all the control panel is for the air conditioning. And he goes, do you see this? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, everything's turned off. There's no power source at all going to the air conditioner unit. I'm like, okay. He goes, come with me. So he takes me to the side of my house where my air conditioning is. I follow him out there, and the air conditioning's still running. It's just running.
And there's nothing hooking it up.
There's nothing, absolutely nothing. No power source, no backup generator. There's absolutely zero power going to this thing, and it's just running. And he's like, that's not supposed to happen.
Yeah, like, I've been to electrical school, and I'm pretty sure that's not supposed to happen. But if you can bottle that, you're going to make a lot of money.
I'm like, okay. And he goes, he's like, can I ask you a question? I'm like, yeah. And he goes, is your house haunted? And I'm like, I don't know, maybe? And he goes, well, I don't know why they're messing with me. And he got in his truck, and he left, and he didn't come back. I actually had to call a different company out, and it took 3 other companies to come out to finally fix my darn air conditioner.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, but that's stuff like that happens all the time. Like I said, the thermostat resets itself all the time. Even here, we have a smart thermostat. It's one of those that's you can change it by your cell phone, and it's a smart thing. It's very technical. I don't know. I've never had one before.
Yeah,
but,
they're kind of spooky.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't work right.
I had one of those at my little house on the prairie when I used to live a few hundred miles east of here. I came home one day, and after a long day at work, I touched the doorknob, and it was hot. And I thought, that's really weird. And it didn't connect my brain to that thing where if you touch your doorknob and it's hot, it means your house is on fire. Oh, and I'm unlocking it going, I wonder why my doorknob is so hot. And I opened the door, and I was just hit with this heat because my alleged smart thermostat decided to turn itself up full bore. And it was about, over 100 degrees in the house. Luckily, it wasn't on fire. But wow. Yeah, those aren't overly smart. Maybe they're good at math, but I don't know. You and your husband went through some interesting times when your little one was in critical, when she had passed in the hospital. Right. Can you tell me a little bit more about what thoughts had gone through your mind? And, obviously you were praying and things like that for her recovery. Do you think that in those prayers you kind of promised to something that may have affected your home when she got home?
No, I mean, after a year and a half, when she was a year and a half old, she had heart failure, and we didn't know that she was having heart failure at the time. We thought she was just sick again because we were in the hospital with her nonstop from the time that she was born, and so we thought she had pneumonia again. We took her into the hospital. I spent the night with her again. And I had left for an hour to grab some clothes, and I came back, and they were hooking her. They were putting on her, air vacuuming her to St. Louis Children's Hospital. Her heart was beating only once a minute, and it was the size of her chest.
Oh,
and
wow.
it was acute myocarditis, which myocarditis would give you and I a virus, a cold, but it's a virus that attacked her heart. And most people, the doctor told us you have more chances of being hit by lightning than to get it.
Oh, wow.
And so they air vac her up there. We get up there, and they let all of our family members that were in the area come and see her first, because they said she was only 12 pounds at the time because she was failure to thrive and so sick all the time, and they just like, she's gonna die. So they put her in a coma for a week and put her on all the ventilation and everything, just every machine possible to help her body rest and recover. And there was a time in my husband, and I did not know this, but in his weakest moment was up on top of the hospital on the roof up there. And he was by himself, and he said out loud, "Please take me instead, or she's got so much, don't take her from us. I'll do whatever, please. Whoever is listening, please don't take my daughter." And I guess in just a parent's desperation, he said that. Now, I don't think that, and he's talked to priests since then, that anything negative was like, fine, I'll take you instead of her or whatever. There's no deal with the devil made.
Okay.
There was none of that. That's absolutely ludicrous. It was just please don't take my daughter. Whoever is listening, God, whoever's listening, just don't take my child from me. And that's what he had said.
Yeah.
And as a parent, I know. In my own prayers, I've said, please don't take my child, I mean, any parent would.
Yes.
So that whole thing is not, I think in his mind, he may have thought that whoever was listening, maybe it was negative, because shortly after that, when she got home, she survived. We got home with her. The paranormal activity got even stronger. And that's when he started getting attacked. And I think maybe he just thought, because he said that, maybe he just thought that he invited something negative in his mind. Maybe he did. But it's not. I guarantee you that's not what happened. You know what I'm saying?
When you say your husband got attacked, describe the attacks.
Oh my gosh. He has been scratched. He's been burned. He's been pushed. He's been punched in the ribs. He's been, it's just mentally, messing with him. So, I mean, and it was just him. There was a time when he was sitting in one of our other home, and my kids were like, Dad, are there such things as ghosts? Because they were seeing things too, and they were having experiences, and it was freaking them out. My oldest two were really young at the time, and they were riding their scooters in our house, and they got to the end of the hallway, and they both came running back, and they were like, "There's a cowboy, he's standing in our laundry room. There's a man in our laundry room." And I go down there, and there's nobody there, but they had seen what they they call the cowboy in our laundry room. They were seeing things, they were experiencing things. So they were asking him, hey, is there such thing as the ghosts? Is this what's going on? And my husband's like, there are no such thing as ghosts. This isn't happening, And as he's saying that there's no such thing, there are welts that appeared on his arm, all the way up his arm, in front of us. As we were sitting there, we just watched it happen. And it wasn't him scratching himself. He wasn't having an allergic reaction to anything. I mean, we've tried to debunk everything. We don't automatically just think it has something to do with an energy or a ghost or a spirit. We try to find an answer, or that's the last thing we want to say is actually going on, But I think at that time he could no longer deny that this stuff was happening, because for the longest time he didn't believe in that stuff. Until he started getting attacked, he was just like, oh, you guys are being ridiculous. Oh, you're being silly. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. And he could no longer deny it at that point.
Oh, yeah. It's one of those things where in human nature, you want to find a reasonable answer for what's going on. Something that you can grasp with what experience you've grown up with and your belief system.
Right.
And when this is happening, it's the first thing you go to is maybe I've got an allergic reaction. Maybe I had scratched myself somewhere else. Maybe you kids are seeing something at a corner of your eye that's just flashing a light. But after a while, it just kind of literally hits you over the head. And it seems like when we start moving our houses, because we're like, okay, maybe it's just this house, maybe we need to move. But I did do a lot of moving because of the career that I had before, now. And so it seemed like every time we moved, we were like hoping that it would not follow us, that this was it. It'll stay, or it was just the house or whatever. But that's not been the case. Every time we move, they follow us. And sometimes there's a week, 2 weeks that it's quiet and you're like, oh, this is great. I can walk down the hall without feeling like somebody's standing right behind me. Or I can enter a room and not feel this creepiness come over you. And it's like, oh, yes. And then it hits. And it's not just one little thing. Sometimes it's all day long something. When you're haunted, it's not just at night at 3 o'clock in the morning like the TV shows show you. It's day. It's night. It doesn't matter the time of day. When you're haunted, you have stuff happen. And so I guess I never understood why, everybody was all like, oh, we got to do this in the dark. Just come to my house. You can see it in the middle of the daytime. Well, and that's one of the things that used to frustrate me with these television shows. They'll go out someplace. So, okay, wait till 2 o'clock in the morning and go till 4. Yeah. The only advantage I see in that is that it's quieter at night.
Right.
You don't have all the traffic and the hubbub out there. But like you say, they're there 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
So it's just getting some time. A lot of the paranormal investigations I do are like from 7 till midnight.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just whenever the energy is around, and it seems like whenever we're having normal conversation or we're just doing something normal is when something will happen and you're like, did that just happen? There was a time in one of our houses that my husband and I were sitting on our bed, and Gianni was sitting in the middle of us. That's my youngest son. And we're watching TV in my room, and our bed faces the door to the hallway. And directly across the hallway was Olivia's room. And we're sitting there watching TV, and we see this little girl run down the hall and run into Olivia's room and close the door. And I'm like, and my husband goes, did you just see that? And Gianni's like, was that Olivia? And I'm like, I have no idea. So I get up and I go into Olivia's room. There's nobody. There's nobody in her room. She was downstairs. She wasn't even close to her room. But we saw a little girl run into her room and close the door.
Now, you say that...
Now it's the middle of the day.
Yeah. And you say that the little girl basically showed up when Olivia came home from the hospital.
Yeah, she's been with us ever since. She just hangs around. She says stuff to us. We don't really always understand what she says, but there'll be times you're just sitting there. Like, my husband was at home alone, and the kids were at school, and I was on my way home in the middle of the afternoon, and he was talking to me on the phone, and I heard this little girl's voice over the phone clearly, and it was like, la la la. And he goes, did you just hear that? And I'm like, yeah, you got the TV on or something? He's like, no, there's no TV on. It was just in front of me. I just heard that in front of me. And he goes, you heard that? I said, yeah, I heard that. He goes, there's nobody here. And that came out of nowhere, just in front of me. So it's, this little girl is gone everywhere we've been, and we hear her all the time. In fact, we've heard her here at the new house.
Amazing. Have you talked to a psychic about this little girl at all?
No, I actually haven't. Haven't brought that up at all.
Oh, you're going to have to talk to our friend Joanna, the medium, on Two Mediums and a Large.
Yeah.
Next time we have our show, Two Mediums and a Large, I will call. No, you're going to be fast asleep because you're a long ways away.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they come on from 10 till midnight here. But
okay.
What you do is you go to joannathemedium.com, joannathemedium.com. Just send her a message and tell her you know me, and just have a question. She's really, really good. When I first called her, my dad ended up standing in front of her with a birthday cake for my daughter, who had a 16th birthday the day before.
Aww.
Joanna didn't know me from Adam. It was the first conversation I had with her. And it was just a matter of fact. Oh, by the way, your dad's here, and he's got a birthday cake, which means somebody's having a birthday or an anniversary, and I just about plotzed. This is my daughter's birthday was the day before. And she was just so a matter of fact. Oh, by the way, he's here. What would you like me to do? Well, come on my show every 2 weeks. That's what I want, because you're good. And, she's really good that way. But she could find out who this kid is, probably. This is me, just a wild guess. I'm guessing it was somebody who passed in the hospital and didn't know she's passed, and just started hanging out with your daughter when your daughter was crossed. Not crossed, but passed.
Right.
And then when your daughter went back into her shell of her body, that just followed her home. Now, I remember talking to you once before where there was some... your daughter was saying that the little girl was mean or negative?
Not that little girl. She's been able to talk to these entities that seem to it seems to be like a revolving door, because other than the little girl and the entity that was attacking my husband, there's tons of like energy that just goes through our house. It just rotates in and out. And so she doesn't talk about talking to them anymore, and I don't know if she's just shut down or just turned it off. But for a long time, and it always happened in her closet. For whatever reason, there may have been a portal there or something, but she would spend time in her closet talking to these things. And she had one girl that she called Evil Girl. She would wake her up in the middle of the night and want to play. And she had a pencil in her pocket, she said, and it would always threaten her to stab her with a pencil if she didn't do what this evil girl wanted. And I said, well, what does she want? And she's like, she wants me to find her parents. And she would always describe her the same way. It was always about 2 a.m. in the morning when this girl would wake her up. And for 2 weeks straight, I would hear her about that time every night. Go away. Leave me alone. You're going to get me in trouble. And she was yelling at the evil girl. And I'd go in there and I'd be like, what's going on? She's like, evil girl, well, leave me alone. I'm like, okay, tell her to go away, and then it just stopped. She went away and she didn't talk to her again. There was a time my husband's aunt and uncle died. They passed away before we knew it. And they had died on a military base in a car accident. And one of the cousins of the family finally got a hold of my brother-in-law. My brother-in-law called and said, hey, your aunt and uncle, we just found out they had died in an accident. So my husband was sitting there, and he had a tear going down his face. Now, he hadn't seen his aunt and uncle since he was a kid, but, it was family. And so Olivia had come into the room and saw that he had a tear, and she's like, what's wrong? And he's like, well, my aunt and uncle, not yours, but mine, passed away. And she said, oh, I know, they died in a car accident. And he was like, what? And she's like, yeah, they were driving this kind of car. She knew what the car looked like, what they were wearing, their names, what happened, who died first, and that somebody actually died in the hospital before they, or was taken to the hospital before they passed away. And he was like, what? He thought maybe she'd seen this on TV and she's repeating it, he had no idea. So he called my brother-in-law back and said, do you have details on what happened? And can you get details? If you don't, Olivia's just sitting here telling me X, Y, and Z. And he was like, okay. So a few days later, because my husband said, this is what she's saying. And so a few days later, he finally gets in touch with the family and gets the information back to us. And she was right. She was right about everything. And we'd asked her how she knew about it. And she said because they had come to her in the closet. And his face was like this, and she was describing them and who died for everything. They were talking to her, and he goes, well, what did they want? And he said, they just wanted you to know that they loved you. And they felt bad because they had scared her because she was describing one of them had blood all over his face and stuff like that. And they were apologizing for scaring her. They didn't mean to, but they wanted her to tell him that they loved him.
Oh, that's fascinating. I'm kind of looking at this as your daughter is the lightning rod that's attracting all this stuff. And it wasn't the closet being a portal. It was just the closet was created by your daughter as a soft spot for these entities to come through.
Right.
Of course, I've heard this a lot after people had passed and come back, that their vibration is a lot higher, that vibration being how they tune in to the other side, or primarily how they tune into things that haven't crossed over to the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And, and if you pass on one side of the country in your family, once you pass, somehow, through the great energy that's out there, that this member of the family can now communicate on your behalf. And being time is man-made, like a second later, they're there.
Right. Wow.
Well,
we were just stunned that, and she talked to these guys, and there's another experience that I had from work. Do we have time?
Oh, sure.
So I was working at a bank. I was in banking for 10 years, and I had this gentleman come into my branch, and he went up to the service desk and he was talking to my customer service manager. He wanted to put a check into an account that his wife was not on, but she had passed away. And so my service manager said, well, you have to get the death certificate, so on and so forth, to get all this taken care of. So that was on a Friday, and he left. And so I went home, and Olivia, my oldest daughter, was spending the night at her friend's house, and my daughter Olivia was like, Mom, I got a friend spending the night. This is Janisa, and she's spending the night, and there's nobody there, but she's telling me all about Janisa and how she was, going to be staying the weekend with her and spend the night, okay. I'm like, all right. And I thought maybe, because her older sister was spending the night and she didn't really have any friends at school that, spent the night, that type of thing, with her special needs that, she was just kind of making it up or something, whatever. So she went the whole weekend, with Janisa at the house. And there was actually something that kind of disturbed me. She was talking to Janisa in her room, and I passed by her room and her door was cracked. And I could see, like her stuff moving in her room that shouldn't have been, because there was no airflow coming in. Like there was streamers that she had up across the room that were just like floating in the air, like do, like somebody was playing with them. And, she had nobody else in the room with her. And like I said, there was no ceiling fan and the air wasn't on, nothing like that. And I was like, oh, okay, that's a little weird. So I go back to work on Monday, and the guy comes back in with the check and the death certificate and everything, and they get everything taken care of at the front desk. And so after he left, I went up there and I was talking to my customer service manager, and I said, I looked at the check.
Hello? Uh-oh. She looked at the check and was never seen again. Okay, I'm just going to reconnect with Karrie. I was like on the edge of my seat. She looked at the check and... Okay, Karrie. Right when you said, and I looked at the check, everything went blank.
Oh,
so
that was crazy. Like I said.
Yeah, I know. Okay. So you look at the check.
I looked at the check, and the name on there was Janice, and the middle name initial was A. Janisa.
Oh.
I've never seen that name. I've never heard that name. Like I said, I don't know where the name came from, but that was the name on the check. And I was like, oh my gosh, I had chills all over me, because I'm like, this lady has been visiting my house all weekend long. So I went home on Monday and I asked Olivia, I said, hey, is Janisa still around? And she's like, nope, she went home. I'm like, okay. And I said, well, why did Janisa, why was she here? And she said, well, because she said she had business to take care of.
She had business to take care of.
And I guess maybe helping her husband cash that check. I don't know. But she hung around my house with my daughter all weekend. I've never met the lady, never heard that name before or after or since.
That's fascinating. That's creepy, but fascinating.
Yeah.
We're talking to Karrie Schuler. She is an occupant of a wonderfully haunted home. And we just want to know why. Is this frustrating for you that, all the years have gone by and you still really haven't got answers? Now,
well, it is.
You've had paranormal groups come in, but you actually started your own.
Yes, I did. I was starting my own to reach out kind of to the paranormal community to kind of find answers and figure out why this was happening, why they were following me and our family. And was it Olivia? Was it all the circumstances? Or was it the land? Was it the house? I didn't know. I had no idea why. And why it was so heavy in our house. It wasn't like there would be some days that were quiet, but for the most part, there's activity all the time. And I'm just trying to figure out why. What is going on? So I started a paranormal group. We had actually done probably 2 or 3 investigations on our own as a group. But we actually stopped because I'm like, I honestly don't know how I'm going to be able to help other people other than knowing all the types of paranormal activity since we've experienced it. I don't really know how I can help other people when I can't figure out what's going on in my own home. So we stopped investigating as a group like 4 years ago. but I still have my Paranormal Moms page up and stuff. And a lot of people don't ask for paranormal help or anything like that. It's more, my paranormal page now is just more of just funny paranormal little things that we put up there. But also for me to stay connected to the paranormal community so that I can, because I've been able to talk to people like you or like my psychic friend, in New York. And I've been able to reach some people that have had some insight or give me their opinions, because I'll tell you, a lot of these paranormal groups and paranormal community have different beliefs and belief systems when it comes to investigating or just the paranormal realm in general. And so it's interesting to collect a lot of information from everybody and just different thoughts and feelings about everything. I think it's helped some. And honestly, since I talked to Renee in New York, and she's helped with getting rid of the human spirit, the entity that was attacking my husband, that has been amazing. It's been an amazing support group trying to find out what's going on. So
it would be, you need a support group where people understand. I've been saying this for a while now. We just are kind of, my paranormal group, Canadian Paranormal Society, has dealt with a family whose son, who's just about 4 years old, is such a high energy little fella. Every lost soul in the neighborhood shows up.
Oh, wow.
And he's not sleeping well. He's too young to learn how to block. His dad is sensitive. His grandmother's a psychic that helps police. And his mom has sensitivity in her background. And her anxiety is just going through the roof. Because now, through a number of paranormal groups who have showed up, she's meditating and, she's raising her own vibration now where she sees a lot more than she's ever seen before. As a result, the activity she perceives is increased, but really it's always been there. She's just seeing more of it.
Right.
And it's affecting her more than the boy. She thinks, I feel bad for him. He's not sleeping. He's coming into my room because there's, the lady floating out of the closet or the man in the bedroom. And he's, growing up with it. So he just believes this is what always has been. He just feels uncomfortable and he goes in and sleeps with his parents.
Right.
So it's her talking to others, and I got her onto a number of Facebook groups, some private and some public, where people like her and have the same issues can discuss it without being held to ridicule.
Right. Well, see, I live in the Bible Belt. Missouri, in this southern part, it's all about Christians and what church you go to. And religious people feel that the paranormal is some kind of satanic thing. Or if you have any experiences, it's hush hush. You just don't talk about those things. Or you're a witch, or you're a demon, or you need to go to church and be saved because you've got this activity in your house. And after I had started the paranormal group and everything, I had gone to an interview for a job, and the girl had no interest in hiring me, but she told me, she said, I just wanted to see what a paranormal, because she Googled and saw that I had a paranormal team. She goes, I just wanted to see what a paranormal person looked like.
Oh, that's just wrong.
Oh yeah. It was like, wow. Okay. So I have had...
lunatic?
Yeah. So, reaching out to the paranormal community where you can talk about this and people understand, versus not even just believe you, but understand and have had some experiences. Because I don't think most people, and we have family members that are like this, if they're highly intelligent, and if you have some kind of paranormal activity going in your house, then it's probably just because you watch too much TV and you're white trash. Seriously, that's the thought. And you're just like, wow, okay, because intelligent people don't have this stuff happen to them. You know?
Yes, they do.
Yeah, exactly.
In fact, one of the Bush daughters, George Bush, when he was president, one of his daughters, and I can't remember which one, saw ghosts in the White House.
Wow. I bet that place is seriously haunted.
Oh yeah, why not? Just if you're, they say the Lincoln? There's a Lincoln room or something that's supposed to be quite active.
Wow.
Whether it's somebody from politics or a cleaning lady or whatever, but there's things that are seen in the White House, on the White House lawn. You don't have to be overly psychic or one of these people that believe that this doesn't happen to people other than white trash. We have multi-million-dollar mansions in Vancouver, British Columbia, and I mean 30, 40, 50 million dollar mansions that go back to the 30s, and some of those are like it's Disneyland for ghosts.
Wow.
Yeah, they're all over the place. So there's not a lot of white trash hanging out in those. Yeah. A lot of movie crews who have a heck of a time with their audio and their gear because it gets shut off, or they'll hear footsteps or ballroom dancing and music, and they'll have to stop saying, "I'm picking up a radio station," and someone will say, "Is it like 1930s and 40s ballroom music?" Yeah, that's it. It's not a radio station. You're picking up. We're in the old dance. The dance room or dance hall in this mansion, so you're just picking up whether that's residual energy or not. I don't know. Is there anyone sensitive in your family other than your little one? Does it?
I think my husband is to an extent. He actually has a piece of his brain that is dead. He had a football injury in high school, and so his brain is trying to compensate the other part of his brain for the piece that is dead. And so, other parts of his brain, he's using other parts of his brain. Mm-hmm. And I think once he realized, okay, this is really happening to me, this is really happening to our family, okay, it seemed like not necessarily acceptance, but okay, this is really happening. He started to see more and feel more and have more experiences himself. And I think that there's just a piece of that brain that is dead that the other part of his brain is using that's kind of opened a door for him, because he could hear things that we couldn't in the room. For instance, when he was being attacked, he was like, I was sitting in the living room with him one day and we were just having a conversation, and he goes, "Did you hear that?" And I said, "Hear what?" He goes, did you not hear that voice? And I said, "No, I didn't hear a voice." And he goes, it's telling me it's over here, it was over by our Christmas tree. And, and I'm like, okay, well, if you're hearing a voice, let me get my recorder out. We'll just set it here and maybe we can pick it up on here, because I can't hear anything. I don't hear what you're listening to or you're hearing. And so I turned on my little digital recorder and we continued with our conversation. And during that, when I played it back, there was definitely another voice on there. It was this deep, guttural sound. I don't know what it was saying. It sounded like gibberish, but it was the deepest, scariest thing I've ever heard.
Well,
and he could hear it, and I couldn't.
I think we should take him out as a human, not a human EMF, but a human digital recorder. We could, or I can't remember. Ovilus there. You can just say, "Oh, so what is he saying?"
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating that it would happen like that. Now we're gonna have to take a break and be right back with more from Karrie Schuler right after this.
Hi there, this is Dave Scott, and I would like to invite you to listen Monday through Friday right here on Spaced Out Radio. 3 hours a night of the top stories with the top guests, ranging topics from UFOs to ETs, ghosts to Sasquatch, and everything in between. We are live every night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. So come on in and take a listen at spacedoutradio.com. Spaced Out Radio will take you out of this world.
Hi there, this is your psychic medium Joanna, and I would love it if you would join us every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. With host James Tyson, we'll bring you personal psychic messages on two mediums and a large. Questions about love, life, career changes. We would love it if you would come and join us live. Call in and listen in for the experience. Allow us to open the doors to your other side. Two mediums and a large. Heard only on Spaced Out Weekend at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for news beyond the mainstream news? Head to spacedoutradio.com and check out the SOR Spacewire. This is Spaced Out Radio's Eric Markham, News Director for the SOR Spacewire. Daily, I will bring you intriguing stories and outlandish reports from what's going on around the world. UFO sightings, paranormal activity, conspiracies, alternative health, and so much more. And if you have news, email me at news@spacedoutradio.com.
Attention Spaced Out Radio listeners. For only $5 a month, you can join Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers. Your membership at spacedoutradio.com will give you access to private fan area on the website, get you a monthly newsletter, draws for monthly swag, and a whole lot more. Sign up today to become a part of the Spaced Out Radio experience.
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Greetings and salutations, space travelers, from the Chronicles of the Unknown team.
What is Chronicles of the Unknown? I keep hearing about this thing.
It's a new paranormal reality TV show based right here in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. Follow our team as we uncover claims of activity on the Caribou Gold Rush Trail. You can also follow us here every third Monday, where two members of our team will be available to answer your questions. We'll give you some equipment updates and some of our experiences on the road, right here on Spaced Out Radio.
For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
Patrolling the Pacific Northwest, we are always on the lookout for the strange and unassuming stories that real people are experiencing. Hi, I'm Vincent Zunza from Pacific North Weird. Me and Alexandra Sullivan have teamed to bring to you those odd stories that never seem to make it into the mainstream. Stories so weird that will leave you scratching your head wondering, is this real? It's as real as it gets with Pacific North Weird. You can watch our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Find yourself constantly looking up in the sky, looking for answers? Have you had extraterrestrial contact? Are you an abductee? Looking for answers to your experiences? Hi there, I'm R. Keith Andrews, Spaced Out Radio's resident ET expert. Join me live the first Friday of every month, where I take questions from the Spaced Out Radio chat room and help you understand those from the far-off world. It's 2 hours of knowledge every experiencer should listen to. Hope to see you there.
Hey everybody, this is Patrick Webster Small, and I'm here to bring you the Webster Phenomena every Saturday night, live at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. If you're looking for aliens and extraterrestrials, well, we've got them. Big and tall, short and small. You're bound to find what you're looking for. So join me on the Webster Phenomena right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Hi there, this is Jolene with Reveal Reiki and Readings, and I want you to relax. Let me help you chill out and get in touch with your body, mind, and soul. In this busy world, sometimes we need to let go. and this is where I can help. Visit my website, rivuletr.wix.com/rivuletrr&r, or my Facebook page, Rivulet R&R, to set up an appointment for relaxation, Reiki, or readings. No matter where you are, it's time for you to make time for you.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Every month on Spaced Out Radio, we look into the deep and dark reports of cryptids roaming around the world with me, Rob Morphy, from Cryptopia.us. I would love it if you would join me and host Dave Scott as we delve into the most arcane stories and reports regarding creatures of the unknown. My job is to hunt down the details and bring the evidence forward to you. These aren't your regular Bigfoot stories I'm talking about either. You can find out more about crypto history at spacedoutradio.com.
Tonight's edition of Spaced Out Weekend is brought to you by spacedoutradio.com, where you can now sign up to become a Space Traveler member. Now, for the final time tonight, here's Spaced Out Weekend's James Tyson.
Welcome back, everybody, to Spaced Out Weekend, and we are with Karrie Schuler. I want to remind everybody, if you go to the Spaced Out Radio Network at spacedoutradio.com, and if you would sign up to the SOR, that's the Spaced Out Radio Travelers Club, it's a secret, private little club. No, you don't get a ring, but it does cost you about $5 a month. You would have access to a number of cool giveaways. These are books, t-shirts, hats, and one of the things we're giving away right now to 2 lucky members who can make it down to Kentucky in March, April, and we're going to be confirming the dates pretty soon. It's a paranormal investigation at the Waverly Hill Sanatorium, going with the Ghost Hunters of Virginia and Galen Chauncey. Now, Galen is our favorite little geomancer. She is a human EMF detector. She can see things that you don't want to see. She can see reptilians. She sees giant shadow people. But she and her team, the Ghost Hunters of Virginia, have been to the Waverly Hill Sanatorium quite often. They have a black belt in knowing where exactly to go and who to talk to inside there to get some of the most fascinating EVPs and other evidence that you'll ever get. Unfortunately, you'll have to cover the charge. It's $75 a person, but you won't be there with a bunch of tourists. You will be embedded in with the Ghost Hunters of Virginia with their gear and their equipment, and only with them, not with anyone else. So you'll have a really good experience. Again, that's coming in March, April, Waverly Hill Sanatorium, Kentucky. If you live in the area or you can get down there, we will confirm those dates. Just go to Spaced Out Radio and join the Spaced Out Radio, I keep fumbling over that, SOR Space Travelers Club, and you will and just put a name in for the Waverly Hill Sanatorium that you'd be interested in that. And we're going to draw 2 lucky members who've put their name in to go along with the Ghost Hunters of Virginia this spring. Now, Karrie, before the break, we were talking about a lot of little. We were talking a whole hour about a lot of things. So we're going to continue to talk another hour about a whole lot of other things. But one of the things that I was very interested in, and we were discussing before I had to cut you off too quickly, was a little bit of the background on not only the house you were in, but the house you have moved to. But I did ask you briefly on if you come from a sensitive family. We talked a little bit off air about your background. Could you fill in my listener about your family history with this kind of thing?
Well, my dad was sensitive. I mean, like I said, he could know when the phone was going to ring and who was going to be calling. My mom, we were military brats and military family, and my mom used to clean quarters out on base at nights, and she's had experiences. My sister and I have had multiple experiences growing up. So we're all, I wouldn't say we're open to it, but we believe that there is another side, that there is, things out there that we don't know about, or, don't know enough about.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Which is, it's a good comfort. It's a good fallback when things start happening to you and your family, to know that you can talk to your parents about it.
Yes, it is. I do talk to them often about things that happen. And it's nice to know that your parents are going to say, oh, hush, you don't know what you're talking about. Oh, you're just dreaming, or, blowing it off and not believing us as a kid. When we go to my mom or dad and say, hey, this just happened, we never got that response, which was great, because it was nice to know that your parents believed you. And so I've always been open with my kids. When they come to me and say, hey, I just saw a cowboy in our laundry room, I believed them, know. So I get that.
That goes a long way to actually help them from blocking it. When they grew up in a family of, oh, don't be silly, you're not going to, that wasn't. When I was a kid, I saw a shadow person in my room. Now, I don't mean the tall guy in the hat and all those other weird ones. This was a silhouette that I could, it was like a young girl. And I was maybe 11 to 13 years old. And I thought it was my sister standing at the foot of my bed. And then I shut my eyes, opened them, and then she was moved. And then she came up to along the side of the bed. And I was sort of scared, but sort of not. And I put my hand out, and where I would have actually touched this person, it just went through. And then I fell into this wonderful deep sleep. And I remember this quite vividly because I told my mom about it in the morning. And she says, oh, those things happen. Don't worry about it. But she didn't, so I guess she had seen those kind of things too, but never talked about it. Wow. She just kind of, well, don't worry about it. So, I didn't worry about it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then years later, you look back and go, oh, that's what that was.
Yeah, my sister and I shared a room, and we saw our first doppelganger, which happened to be my dad. Which was, and we told him right after it happened, and he was like, well, they say your spirit wanders sometimes when you're sleeping, or, he tried to give an explanation. Now, my dad is extremely intelligent man. He has a degree in psychology. He's been in the military 20 years, and now he's a parole officer, and he's a very logical thinker. So for him to say, yeah, I believe this, and I believe what you're saying, to me that meant a lot, because logically thinking and saying, you wouldn't think, well, you just saw a spirit or an entity. That's, logically thinking,
Yeah.
So, but my mom had an experience here. She came up from Vegas and stayed with us a couple of weeks here in our new house. And she was sleeping in my son's bedroom, and it was about 2:00 in the morning. There's a time difference from where she's at, so she still was up late. And she was reading a book on her iPad or something, and it's like 2:00 in the morning. And she said, above my son's dresser is a shelf with baseballs that he is like from game-winning baseballs and stuff. And she said she was sitting there reading it, and the baseball fell off the shelf and landed right in the middle of the dresser, but it didn't roll. It just sat there. And she was like, okay, that was weird.
So it didn't bounce? It just, like, someone took it and placed it there?
Yes, exactly. Oh. And it didn't roll. It didn't move. It just sat there on the dresser. And then it lifted up, and, like, somebody slammed it on the ground, right in front of the dresser on the ground, and it didn't roll or move. It just lifted up and hit the ground hard. She jumped out of that bed. It scared her to death because she said there was nobody in the room that could have absolutely she said it just lifted off and just hit the ground. She goes, it was so loud, I don't know how you didn't hear it and wake up. She said, but it didn't even roll. It didn't even move.
That's weird.
And I said, well, somebody was trying to get your attention. And, so we were trying to recreate it the next day and couldn't get it to not roll or not move. From what her description was, it just landed and stayed.
Okay, that's creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Now, what room are you in right now in the house?
I'm in my bedroom.
And it's your bedroom, not the bedroom with the ball?
No, I'm not in the bedroom with the ball, no.
Oh, okay.
It's right next door to mine.
Yeah. I'm listening very carefully in the background if I hear little girls' voices or mumbling or anything like that. I think last time I talked to you, I was sure I got voices. You had got up and gone to do something, and I heard a girl's voice, but couldn't make out what she was saying. So always, when I talk to you, I'm always listening just for those extra little voices. Now, I've got to bring this up because this really ticks me off. And the only reason I say it ticks me off is because I'm under orders not to swear. So you had a visit by a paranormal television show, which, thank God, it's no longer on the air. And I'm not going to give the name of the show, but its initials were The Demon Files. Oh! I guess I gave it away. This professional, whatever the hell he was, shows up at your house. And walk us through, first of all, how they got a hold of you, why they wanted to come down, and what the dickens they did.
Oh, gosh. It was a nightmare. We'd actually had several other paranormal groups come to different homes and investigate. And every one of them did something different. But every one of them couldn't help us. It was like there was no end. They were like, yes, you were very haunted. We'd love to come back and investigate because this was great. But there was no resolution, which was, where's the answer? Why is this happening and how do we stop it? And so we had reached out to several different. I had at one point to several different not radio shows, but TV programs like The Haunting and several of the other ones. And they just said, well, this is great, but has the haunting ended in your home? No. Well, then we can't help you. Okay, well, who can? Okay, so these and we had them say, okay, well, we'll tell your story. We'll even pay you for your story. But I'm like, I want help and closure. And they're like, well, we can't help you. And I'm not going to. I didn't want to be paid for what was happening and these experiences. I just wanted it to stop. So I guess they had heard about our family and the experiences and contacted us. And they said, well, here's this guy. He's the difference is, he's going to help you, but he has to do an investigation in your house, and we'll tell your story and so on and so forth. And I was like, well, at this point we were kind of done with paranormal teams coming in and stirring stuff up and leaving.
Yeah.
So I had sat down with my family and asked them what they thought, if we should do this. And they were like, well, if this will get us help, especially because the attacks had been on my husband even more severe and were coming more often, that we're like, okay, this is scary. Maybe they can help. So we agreed to it. And they, it was what apparently had happened. There were 3 episodes that they had filmed. And I think this was one that he just figured he was going to try and make himself seem like nobody's going to pull the wool over on me and nobody's going to get one past me because I think he was just trying to establish himself in the paranormal world as a legitimate person in the paranormal, which isn't the case. And so they had, I guess, basically had set this up before, and we didn't even know about this. This was very personal to us. We were going to get on national TV and talk about what was going on and let these people in our house to do an investigation to see what was going on and tell the world. And again, we live in the Bible Belt. This isn't something you just talk about. I knew this was might be a problem for my kids at school once this aired and so on and so forth. So this was very personal to me. This had nothing to do with my paranormal team. This had nothing to do with anything other than what was going on in our home. So they had set it up basically to make us look like we were liars and that I was just trying to get my family on TV and get my own TV show for my paranormal group, which is complete BS. So they come into our home, and this group, his team, quote unquote team, had been assembled from other teams to be on the show. So they were still getting to know each other. And it was a very weird vibe when they came into their house. It actually felt worse when they came into our home than before just being there with the entities. I'm serious. It was like they brought something negative into our home. And we were trying to be positive. And we're also one of the, just my personality and my family, because we had been dealing with this and we have been for so many years. At times you just kind of have to laugh a little bit and you have to step back and you can't always be in fear all the time. It is scary when things happen, and especially when you watch them happen to your spouse and you're sitting in the same room and you can't do anything about it. But there's a time to, I don't know, you got to keep living and you got to keep going. And so we have dealt with and coped with this in our own ways. And I think himself, he was thinking, I'm going to come in here and they better be in their PJs, sleeping in the living room, in the corner, sucking their thumb, crying for help, or they're not haunted. This is just a bunch of crap. I think that's what he was expecting. And that's not, he wasn't going to get that from me.
Yeah,
you know?
no kidding.
And so he comes in, he brings his team in that was getting to know each other. None of them really, it was very weird. They were all very standoffish. Nobody talked to us, had off the camera conversations. There was two different groups. You have your producers, which is the camera crew and the sound crew and everybody that follows around the host and the team, the talent. And so they're trying to work with each other, but when you have somebody, the host, that is so egotistical and it's my way or the highway attitude, it's intimidating, I think, for the other staff members. And I call them staff members because they were definitely not a team. They didn't know each other. He was yelling at them like dogs. They were scurrying around trying to stay out of his way. He was dropping the F-bomb every other word in my house. And I was just like, okay, wait a minute. To me, if you're going to come into my house and you're going to help me with my paranormal activity, which you're screaming is demonic, it's demonic, it's demonic, it's demonic. And every time I ask them, are you sure it's demonic? Are you sure this isn't just a really mean human spirit? He couldn't answer me. None of his team could answer me. I'm like, okay, this guy, I don't know. Does he really know what he's talking about? And I didn't do my homework before I let him in the house. I didn't know who he was. I should have, but I didn't want to be biased.
Now, who was this guy? What's his name?
Ralph Sarchi.
Ralph Sarchi.
Yeah.
And listener, if you want to Google Ralph Sarchi, yeah, Karrie's not the only one who has some issues with him, I'll tell you that. So Ralph's running around saying everything is demonic.
Yes. Yeah. I'm trying to talk to, and none of them, as they're setting up in my house to do an investigation, none of them are asking, where was the activity? What did you see? I mean, this normal conversation that you would have when you're going in and investigating somebody's home, where have you seen the most activity?
At least one person should have that information. Not everybody, because then you get people looking in that corner for the lady in the blue dress all the time. So one person should know it and kind of indicate where we're going to go and where we're going to set up. But
Right.
don't give everyone else information because they focus too much on it when it's not there. So, or may not be there. So at least one person should have had a really good interview with you.
The only person that knew what was going on other than was the producer. And I told them everything up front. They knew I had a paranormal team, but they didn't know that I had not investigated at this point now, today, 4 years. That point, 3 years. Nobody had ever asked. Nobody had ever done their homework on that respect. But I told them, look, I have a paranormal team. I want them to be out there because I didn't want them to say, exactly what they said about me. And we were up front. My husband told them, look, I had this moment on the roof when my daughter was dying. Everything was told up front. We had separate interviews, days that they actually did the interviews versus the investigation, so that they could piece the show together. Mm-hmm. And let me tell you, that episode was cut and paste more than Kim Kardashian's ass. I'll tell you that.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was ridiculous. Once we finally watched it, the stuff, he cut out evidence of actual, activity in the home. He cut that out so that he could make it look like there was nothing going on in my house. I was just crazy. So they're coming in, they're starting to set up stuff, not talking to us, nothing. And I'm like, wait a minute, right here over the laundry room is where we have a lot of activity. You might want to put a camera over there. I don't know, but I'm trying to help you guys out here. And then they had, just basically taken over our home, but really, again, not talking to us. Ralph, the only time he talked to me, actually had a conversation with me, was on camera about the paintings in my bedroom. And then when he was actually privately off camera was having a conversation with my husband, I entered the room, and he promptly then told me I was going to go to hell because I didn't say the rosary every day. I didn't go to church every Sunday. And I didn't go to confession. So I was going to go to hell. I'm like, okay. But from the time that he came in, he was looking to make us look bad. It was a complete setup. Instead of actually coming in and being the hero and helping us with the situation and finding out what was going on, he was pulling everything he could to make us look bad from the beginning. And it was so bad that he was actually, my husband was outside with him on the deck, and on our barbecue grill, my husband had 3 rocks sitting there because our neighbor's dog had killed some of our chickens and our ducks. So my husband would take a rock and throw it at the dogs when they came into our yard instead of shooting them. Nice.
Makes sense.
So he came out and saw 3 rocks on the barbecue grill sitting there, and I was asking my husband, why were there 3 rocks sitting there? What's the significance of the 3? Why I had 3 chickens, which I actually had 4, he couldn't count. Why on a painting, they were making fun of our decor the entire time. I had a painting in my kitchen that it wasn't my favorite painting. I just picked it up to put on the wall because it matched some color schemes until I figured out what I wanted there. And they were calling it Nuclear Winter painting. I had made chili for everybody, and I had cooked muffins because here's people, and this is down south, this is how I was raised. When people come to your house, you feed them. That's what you do. You take care of people that come into your house. These people came a long way away on their time to come and help my family. So you feed them. I did that with every paranormal group that came to my house. I made food for them. That's what you do. He was saying, oh, look, she thinks it's just a party. So this isn't real. She's not haunted. She's cooking food for everybody.
Yeah, the French have a word for that. In English, it's shower. And in French, I think it's pronounced douche. I don't think I'd play well with this fellow.
He was rude. And he was paranoid. He wore a gun into our home. We didn't even know about it till later. He physically assaulted my son. The one he accused of listening into his ridiculousness. He was going through our stuff, which we were never told or about. Not that he was going to find anything. I mean, there was nothing to hide. I have absolutely nothing to hide. But the fact that he was going through my stuff thinking he was, some kind of great investigator. Here's my thought. If he investigates anything like he did when he was a cop, there's probably, just my opinion, a lot of innocent people in jail because he sucked at it.
Yeah.
Sucked. Majorly. Big Hoover. Sucking. So
now, not J. Edgar Hoover, but the other one. Yeah, it was fascinating. I did see the episode, and it turned my stomach because I had interviewed you before that, and I knew what your story was. And to see this guy spin things around and turn it into an absolute nightmare. It's the guy's a French shower. Yeah. It's it's awkward.
He was just I'm trying to explain to him. He's talking about in one of the scenes he was looking at the paintings on my wall. They're whimsical. Yeah, it's probably not normal decor in a master bedroom, but we love the fall. Halloween is our favorite time of the year. It's just me. It's no big deal. It's because there's a witch. He was actually, I'll tell you this, he was trying to blame everything instead of listening, instead of actually talking to us and finding out information and really getting to know us. He was just trying to find anything he could to say, I'm not going to help you guys. You guys are this, or you guys are that. In fact, after the whole investigation, we never heard back about any of the activity that happened in our house. We were there, but they never, followed up with us. The producer, actually, I followed up with the producer because Ralph and his team didn't want anything else to do with our family, called us a liar and a whole bunch of other stuff. And he said, because there's this, he put us to bed. He said, okay, go lay down because, things happen at this time or whatever. There was a REM pod next to my husband's side of the bed. And it kept going off multiple times, randomly. And they later said it was because it was the air conditioning on the other side of the house there at the end, on the outside of the wall, which wasn't really there. I mean, it's more like in the center between my daughter's bedroom and my husband, on that side of the wall on the outside. Mm-hmm. It was March. We didn't have our air conditioning on, but he was blaming it was on the air conditioning that the REM pod was going off. Then there's a whole other piece of evidence where the REM pod was set up behind my husband's chair in the hallway, and it was going berserk. And Ralph was talking to it, and everybody, the team members, like, this has never happened in the year that I've had this. This is not faulty. It's really, this is what's going on. And they cut all of that out. The fact that my son got touched on top of his head in the hallway and told Ralph about it, he just discarded that. But also the producer had the same experience. Then there was...
As a police officer, that's a clue.
Yeah, you think? Yeah. Woo! I mean, then they were doing EVPs. He was tough talking the ghost, which, he made fun of Zach Bagans and everybody else on TV shows about this, but yet he was doing it himself. Anywho, so he's in there talking to, doing an EVP, and they had the equipment. They had the radio that would, go through the radio stations and say words. I can't think of it now. So they were talking to it, and they were asking. He was leading questions like, "Did the female in the household did she let you in?" And he was asking all these questions about me, like it was my fault that there's entities in our home. And they were like, "Give us a name," and it said Gary several times on this thing. And later he asked who Gary was. Well, Gary was my husband's father who passed, who was the bully, who had been attacking him.
Oh, okay.
But he didn't get that because that wasn't demonic. That was a human spirit. You know, gosh. So all of that was cut out. All the orbs that they did show flying around. It's funny, he discounted that in the episode. It was like, oh, it was just some orbs, you know, spirit energy flying around. But in the other episodes, that was counted as evidence. Like, look what we caught. You know, it's like, okay, dude, seriously. There was so much about it that was so disheartening. I mean, I was genuinely sad. I was happy they were there because there's safety in numbers, and we felt like, oh, good, finally we're going to get peace, we're going to get help. This is what we're doing this for help. And then that also, if anybody else saw this and was having the same issues, that they could reach out or find some help. And maybe if this guy helped us, he could help others. But that's not what happened. And so at the very end, which he cut out all of this, by the way, at the very end, I'll just say, I never read his book. I wouldn't waste my time. His movie was not worth the $5 that I eventually watched. Oh my God, it was horrible. And when I asked him about it, he said, well, it's loosely based on experiences. So basically it was all BS.
Yeah.
But they also said that my kids have been on multiple investigations. That was not true. My daughter had gone on one investigation with our paranormal team when we had done an investigation. And because there was another girl her age that was experiencing things, and she came along to help ease that girl's tension because she was very, very scared. And my daughter's lived through it. She grew up around it in our house. So she was there to help. But my son has never been on an investigation. My son stayed away from all of that because it scared him very deeply. So for him to actually come to the house to be part of that show was saying a lot, because it disturbed him deeply, the activity. It scared him more. And again, he's a very logical thinker. So when experiences happened, it freaked him out more. So we're sitting down at the table at the end when he's supposed to do a blessing. Basically, it's a blessing. He was calling it an exorcism, but basically it's a blessing. He doesn't have any kind of rights from the church to do exorcisms on people. This is a blessing that he was calling an exorcism. He actually believed he had a piece of cross.
Oh, for crying out sakes.
As a relic. Yeah.
You Google this guy, he says he's conducted 20 exorcisms. I just want to slap him. But he's armed.
Yeah, he is.
Because, he's a retired policeman from the U.S., so they can carry guns all over the place.
I would think somebody that was going to come in and bless somebody's house or help them in something demonic would actually be able to walk the walk and talk the talk. But like I said, this guy dropped the F-bomb every other word and treated his staff like dirt. I would be fired 10 times over at my job had my boss ever saw me talk to somebody like that. And he was doing this in my house. In fact, and the girls that were there one day, my husband goes out into the garage. We were doing interviews that day, so my daughter and I had actually put our makeup on and done our hair. And God forbid, because they were out in our garage talking bad about us. It must be nice to go to the mall and get makeovers just to be on TV.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, seriously. So, at the end, where he's ambushing us, basically, he thinks he is. Because, there was, when my paranormal team first started, my friend and I are part of the paranormal team. Her husband and my husband grew up together. And we did this little, it was a very poorly done sizzle reel. And for a show idea that had to do with like couples traveling across the United States and staying in basically, little haunted B&Bs and, it would just be fun. But obviously we never submitted it. We never did anything. It was just on YouTube. And I never took it down. Why should I? It was stupid. I wasn't hiding anything. And so we're sitting there at the end, and he's like, okay, I want honesty from you guys. And he starts going down this list of things that, he's asking us if we did or never did in the house, like a Ouija board or some other, like, I don't know, some things that I didn't even know about. He was just going down this list. Witchcraft, this, that, the other, and whatever. I'm like, no. And he said something about tarot cards. I'm like, no, I don't have a tarot card deck. I've never played with tarot cards. So, he was asking about that. I'm like, no. My son, apparently, he told Ralph that he had done a Ouija board in his apartment, not in our house, with his buddies one night drinking or something, I'm like, okay, whatever. So, mentioned that. And, he asked if we did EVPs in our house, and we had done some prior, but not in the house that they had been to. To me, doing EVPs and setting out a recorder are two different things. We weren't trying to communicate. We're setting out recorders. Now, I'm also going to say, if I didn't have any of that evidence, pictures, anything like that, they wouldn't have even come to our house to begin with.
Yeah.
So, whatever. But so I'm like, yeah, we have done EVPs, but not in this house. But yes, in the past, blah blah blah. So we're going down this whole thing, and he goes, "I think you're lying." He's like, "I think you are a witch. You're doing witchcraft." And I'm like, what? And he's like, I think you're a witch. He called me a witch. And I'm like, what? So he said, what are you doing to your husband? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, you call him ghost bait? And that's like a little joke my husband and I have, our joke is he's ghost bait. If anything's going to happen, it's going to happen to him. And so,
just on that, when I was in Fiji for a few weeks, there was a girl at the resort we used to call shark bait, because every time she went swimming, we'd see dorsal fins of sharks in the area, and you'd never see them until she goes in the water. So when she came out in her bathing suit, we'd say, okay, everybody out. She's shark bait's going in. Okay, carry on. Sorry.
So anyways, he was making this deal out of the fact that I called him jokingly ghost bait. And then, he's like, you have a paranormal team. And he throws down, like, on my Twitter page, like, tweets and stuff from my paranormal page. I'm like, yeah, and? You guys knew about that. Everybody knew about that. What's the big deal? Oh, show him. So he brings in one chick, who's supposed to be a sensitive, who, if she was one of the worst I've ever seen. And I'll tell you why in a minute. So she comes in with her phone, and she pulls up the sizzle reel that they pulled off YouTube. And I'm like, yeah, and? And they were like, see, you're a liar. You're a witch. You were just trying to get us here. Da, da, da. You're just, this is all, we're not going to help you. We're not helping you. And he was like, bye-bye. And he gets up and he slams off and walks out, runs out the door to the garage. So, well, as he's leaving, my husband and I are sitting here, and we're just like, oh my God, this guy's supposed to help us. And instead he's turning it around and making it look like we're, like these big liars and shit, which I'm sorry, but we're not. I told them everything. They knew everything. So for them to act like they were like, ooh, look at our investigation team, we found something. He actually told my husband he went toe to toe with a demon in my attic, but he wasn't going to help us. And to me, honestly, it doesn't matter to me if it really was demonic activity in our house. One, is it a crime for another paranormal person to reach out to another paranormal person to get help who doesn't specialize in demonology? Is that wrong? Okay.
No.
And two, it doesn't matter how it got there. If it's really there and you are who you say you are, why aren't you helping? Why wouldn't you help?
Yeah, it's like you've got a kid a bunch of adults that played with the Ouija board, and all next thing you know, something came in. You don't go in there and criticize them for the Ouija board part. You deal with the existing issue, the challenge that they're going through. That's not helping. That's not helping the client, nor the client who's on the other side, so to speak. You can't do that. You can't walk around pointing fingers and yelling at people and hitting them in the forehead with a Bible and walking away.
Right, exactly. So he's leaving. My son and my kids are in another room listening to all of this. They're crying at this point. My son jumps up and he comes around this corner and he starts yelling and cussing at Ralph. You're a liar. You're not going to stand here and call my mom a witch and call her names and then, leave. You were supposed to be here to help. So Ralph turns around and gets in my son's face and he grabs him by the chin to look at him. And so that my son will, look him in the eyes. And then he thumps him in the chest.
What?
While he's doing this, he's like, it's not you, it's your parents. Your parents are the one I have a problem with because they're initiating all this. They're doing all this. They're doing all that. And he's yelling at my son and thumping him in the chest the same time he's saying all this. And at first he's like, I don't have a problem with you. But then he was like, but you're just trying to get information. Because my son and him were talking about my son has a sports car, and they were outside in the driveway, and Ralph was having a conversation about his vehicle. And so he was saying that the whole time he was talking to Ralph, he was just trying to get information to come back and tell us.
There you
My
go.
son.
He's not paranoid at all.
No, not at all. So as I'm watching, my husband's not even paying any attention. He's looking down at the ground like, oh my God, because he had just gotten out of the hospital a few days before they all showed up, because my husband was sitting there telling this entity to get out and to leave him alone. And he said it felt like a knife went through his heart. And I ended up having to take him into the emergency room. They knew something happened, but they just couldn't explain it. And so anyways, I jump up and I round the corner. Ralph takes off through my garage. I'm chasing. He'd already had all his stuff packed up because they knew they were going to set this up and do this to us. So he's running out my garage and I'm like, you're a liar. You are a liar. You're a liar. You were supposed to come in and help our family. And he's like, oh, I'm a liar. You're a liar. You have a paranormal team. And I'm like, this has been going on for 13 years. I had a team for 3 of it. 3 years. How does that because he was saying basically that because I had a paranormal team, I was inviting all of this stuff in.
Yeah, make up your mind.
Yeah.
Like
So the truth comes out. The truth comes out. So he comes back towards me in the garage, and I'm like, do the math, genius. 3 years, 10, 13 years, okay, whatever. And he's like, you just lured me here to get my trade secrets.
You should have said, yes, I did.
What trade secrets? Tough talking a ghost? It's already been done, dude. I don't... What trade secrets do you think you have? I mean, you are delusional. So he leaves.
Demon hunters. I love those people.
I know, right? Gosh.
Yes.
So they left. The producer is sitting in our kitchen going, I had no idea this was going to happen. His team was upset. Some of his team was crying because now they thinking they can't finish this episode. Then they only got 3 because of him doing this. They had no idea this was going to happen. So we let them finish filming, and as a courtesy for the producer, because the producer had nothing to do with him and his little temper tantrum. So, but then on the episode, if you watch towards the end, they made it look like my husband had made a deal with the devil. And then they had also made it look like I was lying to him about tarot cards. I've never played with tarot cards. I have several friends that have, paranormal radio shows. One of them was asking me to call in one night to be on the show with his friend that was doing flipping a card for people who were calling in. So I had called in, and supposedly they had flipped a card for me. But how is that, to me, playing with tarot cards? How do I know that they actually did it? It's radio. I'm not sitting in front of anybody.
You know what? They probably did do it, but that's not you playing with tarot cards. You're not trying to use them to communicate. That's like,
right.
Do you make pizza? No.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen you eating it. Well, get it at a store, for God's sake.
Right. Well, he also said the reason why he thought I was a witch is because I had owl decorations in my house. He doesn't like owls. He asked me what the meaning of the owls were in my home, and I said, well, I'm actually Native American, and there's a couple of different meanings that are symbolic to me. One is the owls is a symbol of education and knowledge. It's also said in the Native American culture that when a person passes, the owl escorts them to the next realm.
Oh, and you said that to a Catholic?
Yes.
Yes, good.
So he said, no, that's not what the meaning of an owl is. And he had printed out something and he was reading it, something about it was satanic and blah, 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 blah. And I'm thinking, okay, then every person who's ever bought an owl thing at Walmart or at Hobby Lobby, who happens to be the most religious store in America, is now all satanic, and they're selling everybody satanic worshiping things, I guess. Seriously, dude, you've got to be crazy. Then because I had cats, he doesn't like cats, so that was also a sign of witchcraft. And then the paintings in my room that had witches on them, all of a sudden, I'm a witch. He was calling me a witch. I said, hey, I've been called a bitch before, but never a witch. So that's the first one.
I find kind of funny is that I know witches. Like people who call themselves witches.
Right.
Yeah, they're not bad. It's like, yeah, they're not like conjuring up things and boiling the neighbor's dog head and casting spells. They're just people who kind of are pagan.
Right. So yeah, it was a nightmare, and it just made me realize, okay, when people are looking for help and you're going on people's websites and you're like, okay, who do I call to come in and who's going to help me? There are a lot of paranormal teams out there that are, as weekend warriors, or they do this because they've seen it on TV and thought it would be fun.
Yeah.
But there's also really good teams that do have experience in this and can help at least validate that you have activity going in your house and it's not just your imagination kind of thing. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if there really is any help for any of this type of activity. Maybe the ones where the attacking, that's gone away temporarily. So that's great. But when something is attracted to a family for whatever reason,
yeah,
do they ever go away?
Well,
does it ever end?
You can clear the house, but that is just using your energy to do it. You can do the old smudging and smoking and stuff like that, but when you've got a lightning rod like your daughter there, or like your old house that may have had a lot of caverns underneath it, so there's a lot of energy coming up into that residence.
Yeah.
You can push spirit energy out for a very limited amount of time. It's all going to come back in.
Right.
Though what you can do, depending on your belief system, is actually using, bringing down the energy through the top of your head, that swirling white, all empowering energy from the universe, filling your body up with it as you meditate, then expanding it outside your body to fill the entire room. And you can push that by keep breathing this energy in till it fills the entire house. And then you put out that only those who exist in love and light and have good intentions are permitted within here. My guides, my angels, and see how that works. Because that, a lot of times, after 1 or 2 nights of doing that, will help you sleep through the entire night and keep those energies that really haven't crossed over from interfering. They will then back off and respect the space. But
I've done that. I've done it multiple times, and like you said, for a limited time, it's peaceful. But I would literally have to do that
every night.
Day. Every single day. And some days I'm working all day,
Yeah.
I don't have time to sit and meditate. There's days I don't even have time to take but a 5-minute shower and get out of here,
If you could teach your daughter to do that,
yeah,
that would be fantastic. Even if she just does it in her own room. Well, actually, then you get that lineup outside her room waiting to go in, but that you have to beat them to the bathroom.
Yeah. So,
but that's, and that's the conundrum we are running into with the little boy who's attracting everything in his neighborhood. He's just about to turn 4, so what do you teach him?
Right.
You make a bedtime game of it. Okay, we're going to pretend that we're going to build this little force field inside here. Well, first of all, he'd have to understand what a force field was, but you'd have to fill the room with light from your head. I don't know what to do, and it's something we're going to have to think about. But I'd like this type of paranormal investigation because you can walk in and say, "Oh, this is why it's happening," and don't pay anybody to come and clean your house because it's not going to work. Yeah. At least it helps the client understand, and understanding is power. It's if once you grasp the understanding of it, then you've got some of the control back, which relieves stress. But there are other ones you can walk into and go, okay, you've got one thing here. It was originally from the land, or originally from this house. We can address that and ask it to move on. But I think we're one of very few paranormal groups out here that actually just don't come in, get a bunch of evidence, and leave.
Right.
We actually
there's a lot of them that do that. And so if anything this has taught me is really do your investigation and your homework on who you're letting in your house. Because all they did was stir up a whole bunch of stuff, light my house on fire, and ran away. Because after they left, my husband and I were like, okay, we're going to go out to lunch. Nobody was in our house. Kids were at school. We went out to lunch. We came back, and our closet doors to our laundry room, where I told them there was activity, had been ripped off and out and laying in the floor so that when we came through, we could barely get our door open because they had been ripped off. Then, shortly after that, my husband was cut on his hand by an entity in our kitchen. It made it mad. They made it mad. They made it so mad, and they just left us. And that's what we were afraid of. And they did exactly what we didn't want happen. Yeah. And it's scary. And it's scary for other people who have to deal with this. And when people come in and they shake up your world and then they just leave and there's nothing they can do to help you, it makes it worse. And so
really
how's that
do your investigation. Demon Files TV show doing now?
Well, it's been canceled.
Yeah.
And, his little minions were getting on there slandering our family on their little Facebook page. He was getting on there calling me a witch. People were driving by our house. They were confronting us at the store.
What?
Yeah. Because they actually believed him. And they didn't really see the real Ralph.
Oh.
The one that was dropping the F-bombs and Mr. Holier Than Thou that's going to carry around. I'm sorry, if you're going to be that person that's going to tell people they're going to go to hell because they're not going to church, then you better be the holiest person in the room. If you're dropping F-bombs and you're treating people like crap, I'm sorry, you're a fake.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I'm glad it only went 3 episodes. I'm sad that it actually I'm sort of sad and I'm sort of glad it happened to you. And the reason I'm glad is it's really put a magnifying glass over top of these kind of yahoos.
Yeah.
Because now I've got somebody who has first-hand information and witnessed how screwed up paranormal investigations or these alleged paranormal investigators on television are. It's the crap that we see in the final cut isn't going to be true, but they have to make it as sensational as possible because the other paranormal group is now getting pictures of floating heads. So, damn it, we need a picture of a floating head in a clown suit or something. I don't know. It's just it's they're trying to one up each other for basically for an audience that is relatively limited.
Right.
So,
and he was really, honestly, it was a career move for him because he was trying to get picked up for more episodes. And in his Facebook page, after he had done the investigation, they had actually gone to the Tennessee one first, then to our house, and then to the Pennsylvania one. But then they aired it, the Pennsylvania first, the Tennessee one, and then, of course, ours last to get the most reaction. And he had put in there that, since he'd been to the Tennessee one, that's the one he wanted to be remembered for, not ours, really, because he had some experiences at the Tennessee one. So he wanted to write a book and do a whole nother movie on just that one week that he was in Tennessee. It was a career thing for him more than actually trying to help people.
Yeah.
He's trying to really make money and make himself seem legitimate. It's really actually kind of sad.
It sounds sad. It is. And honestly, he probably keeps himself up at night worrying about these things. And he may have had some kind of real connection with doing paranormal investigations at one time, but I think his belief system has polluted any of that type of investigation.
All right.
So again, it's a bit unfortunate, and we must forgive.
Yes.
Good energy.
I'm past. I am past it. I try not to think about it. I just move on. We actually, Dr. Phil's, when we were being harassed and everything by his followers, my daughter had sent in something to Dr. Phil, and they immediately called us. And Dr. Phil's producers called us and wanted us to bring him on the show, and he wouldn't do it. And so I had actually talked to the network, the Destination America Network, which is Discovery Channel, and said, look, this guy is not who you want on TV, and this is what he actually did to our family. And apparently the family that he did after ours in Pennsylvania, that girl, I guess she had become suicidal after he's dealing with her as well, because he's so mean and he's such a bully. That he had really affected that family in a negative way after he had investigated out there as well.
Oh, isn't that crazy?
And and this is sad because you don't know who you're bringing into your house.
Yeah. So what a lovely, positive way to end my interview with Karrie Schuler. So if now you don't have your website up, well, your website's up, but you don't do any investigations. So,
I actually changed it, on my motto. It used to be, if your kids can't sleep at night, neither can we. I actually changed it. Just my Facebook page is just, for all things love of paranormal, fall, and Halloween. And I just post silly things on there. I really don't. We haven't done investigation in 4 years. I'm still dealing with paranormal in my own home. I don't know that we will ever do another investigation as a group again. It's not something on the forefront right now.
Yeah. Well, go visit her on Facebook then.
Yeah.
And hopefully you'll be back after you write your book.
Yeah, right.
And for all my listeners out there, remember, please, other than with Ralph Sarchi, keep an open mind.
This is our last goodbye. Young hearts will stop. Torn souls set free. All that
That's it. Let's roll. And hey! Let's be careful out there.
Far over the snow, what are those voices? They sing and they go, what are those voices? Look up for the mountain, because somebody hide, somebody better hide on through the hill, like a pack of angry wolves on the trail. We are after you, dead or alive. We are out to get you, dead or alive. And forget yourself. If you're the one, better run away. Son, you are done. Throw your gun away. Here come the Mounties to get the man they're after now. On through the hill, like a pack of angry wolves on the trail. Dead or alive, we are out to get you, dead or alive. If you're the one, better run away. Son, you are done. Throw your gun away. Here come the Mounties to get the man they're after. No!
I see dead people.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Dave's not here!